right, hello and welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back to Blade Runner tonight. We're continuing our Memories of Fire campaign, episode 3. We'll see if we can make any more progress on our opening case and go from there. Barkrox, I saw the sub in chat. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you, sir. We are okay. We are also going to be doing our first downtime tonight, which is downtime shift, as we were talking about that ahead of time. I'll kind of dive into the mechanic here in a sec. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, anyone got any news or anything interesting to talk about? I forgot, like, when we get rid of character intros, I don't know what else to do with my life. So it's just sort of like, we just start. Like, is that how this works?
Discussing the merits of onions, I think, before we started.
And how nice Jeff's beard was. It was a dual conversation.
And how I have like perfectly symmetrical gray hairs, like one gray hair here and one gray hair, and that's it. It's crazy. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Mine is symmetrical in that it is all over.
Long, do you got any gray hairs?
None that I've seen.
None that you've seen. They're all in their back. He's got a big old gray spot in the back. Never sees them. What's that in your background? Is that a giant fish?
Just a giant little hollow fish, yeah.
Okay. I like it.
From the book.
Okay. Is it really? Did you steal it from the book?
Yeah, I just saw it in there and I snipped it.
Right on. Perfect.
Cool.
All right. So we're gonna forego our usual character intros because we're gonna get into downtime, learn about them there. So we're just gonna dive right in, right? So let's hit the summary. So this is session 3. You all have been called in. You got called in essentially 12 to 18 hours ago or so, like late evening yesterday, basically, because there was a massive fire at a Chem Plus warehouse in the warehouse district of LA. You spent some time essentially looking at the scene. That was all of session 1. Eventually, you split up and you started kind of going and following leads in different directions. Because you had learned at the end of session 1 that the arson wasn't just an arson, but apparently might be a murder of Monty Croyle, a former LAPD member and retired, and of some note too. So you split up. Arley and Stone, you headed back to headquarters and you kind of consult the Esper wall. You dug through some old case files. Arley had to go through a baseline test, which you were able to pass. Stone, you're able to find some radiation signatures that pointed to the Kipple specifically, based upon some of the tests you took when you were on the site. And you learned essentially whatever device that was brought into the warehouse to kind of cause or trigger the explosion, which then created those chain reactions, either spent time in the Kipple or was using some sort of materials that were stored there or something like that. And the Kipple, if you're unfamiliar, is essentially like these giant heaps and walls of trash that's outside the city that's kind of like temporarily there before it's lifted and taken down to the San Diego wastes. You also learned that Monty Croyle, you learned a little bit about some of his old cases and coworkers. You learned that 5 years ago, there was a Nexus 8 model named Bitfiend, or that went by Bitfiend, that murdered a woman, another LAPD cop by the name of Mei Zhai, who worked with Croyle, and another cop named Hoyt Zemke on a counterterrorism task force. The reason that came up is because you were looking for any kind of indication of like that wake up symbol that you've seen now as graffiti. And it turns out that symbol was also a tattoo on this Nexus 8. And you also learned that Zemke has been on medical leave because he got his ass kicked near the Happy Jacks casino. And has been kind of on medical leave for that. Everett and Faye, you went over to Maeve's bar, which is kind of like a union workers bar, and kind of has like an underground boxing event was going on. Kind of met an ornery bartender, nearly got into a fight with a couple drunken warehouse workers. Pulled a gun on them, and then hostilities ceased. Your spinner got vandalized outside. Everett, you followed up with one of the men at the bar, Gavin Deturi, who was like one of these warehouse union reps. He told you a little bit about Croy, how he had some debts here and there, but also how he got into a fight with a guy named Ty Walters, a bouncer at Happy Jacks Casino, and that same bouncer sometimes used to box at Maeve's bar as well. And I think you actually got his apartment as well, south end of the red light district near the 101 stack. Koji, meanwhile, you went to your tattoo artist, Jade, to learn more about like the ink that was on the suspect's arms, because you had some security footage showing it. You got directed to the ink tank, which is another kind of tattoo artist house. And I think it was Faye who followed up with that one. But Koji, you checked out Monty Croyle's apartment. You found messages on his private terminal that were threatening him. Said, "I know what you did. You're going to burn for this, just like they did." You also found like some surveillance equipment that was hidden nearby in his apartment that kind of was sort of spying on his room and his office area. Koji, I think it was Faye, Faye went to the ink tank. You spoke with Bao Mao, which is sleek and organized tattoo parlor. Bao Mao was kind of cool and distant, but she did eventually give you some information about previous customers that had that same sort of tattoo that had appeared on that Nexus 8 model from 5 years ago. And one of them was a woman by the name of Portia Kiani, who is like some kind of rich artist. Another one, and then there were a couple of blue collar workers, which is a little bit outside of her normal clientele. Ty Walters' name came up again, bouncer at Happy Jack's. A trash barge worker was mentioned. And then, to your surprise, Faye, very familiar name, Warwick Foxwell. Do you want to tell us a second about Warwick Foxwell before we transition over?
Yeah, so Warwick Foxwell is her childhood friend. They have a very passionate, I guess, relationship, where there's always been a lot of chemistry there, but like either one or the other has always been in a relationship, so nothing's ever kind of clicked. But recently he's been ghosting her, and that's all she thought it was that he got into a new relationship, because that's kind of how the beginning of his new relationship start. But she's starting to get concerned because he's not responding to anything, and then she found out that he has this tattoo.
Okay. We'll dig into that some more. That's your key relationship, right? So like in Blade Runner, there's like key relationships, key memories, and Warwick is yours. So we're going to start because you all have worked through the night. You got called in on the arson task force evening. You work through the night, through the AM. Arley and Lawton, you're at headquarters pretty much in all of the AM hours. Everett, Faye, you hit Nave's bar at like 2 a.m. before moving off in the different directions. Koji, you were kind of flying all over the place, kind of mostly down by the red light district, going from here to there. And when you finally kind of catch your breath, 3 shifts have passed. So in game terms, what that means is that you have to do a downtime shift, or you start to accrue stress. And so sort of like an opportunity for everyone to explore their characters, give us a few details, and maybe, depending on the role, because there are some like random roles to it, maybe even get some more information about the case. So let's set the mood here. We're going to pan over the rain-soaked streets of Sector 5. It's mid-morning, maybe late morning. We first we see like the little Tokyo shopping district. There's like this big old tent market. It's bustling with activity. We see street food vendors. They're pushing seasoned protein noodles and steamed faux meat, close enough to the real thing for those who don't really remember to be satisfied by. A few blocks away, a GBS logo, which is like a major media network, is flickering along the side of this tall, color-filled building. And there's terminals that are broadcasting this scripted state-run newscast coupled with strategic marketing. We see a C-block story pop on this kind of grainy display, and it offhandedly mentions this chem class fire, usually in relation to Wallace Corps, but it's not too in depth, and they don't seem too concerned. And there's no mentions of deaths. There's no mentions of any loss of life. And then it kind of deathly transitions into like this advert for insurance. The camera that we're following kind of crawls up the side of the GBS building and starts turning northward, where we see like the brutalist architecture of the LAPD headquarters just kind of towering over nearly every other structure in this sector, but like the Wallace Corps building that looms. And we see, like, as we're closing in, these spinners are speeding by. Some have sirens on, some don't. We find a window, we drift inside, and we find Lawton Stone, probably at the Esperwall console, kind of poring over some of these case files that you were able to pick up. So this is going to go to Lawton. You're well over 12 hours, almost 18 hours into the shift. You've recently been directed by your supervisor to kind of clear the console for another tech and to essentially get the hell out of here. It's late morning, nearly lunchtime. We'll start with you, man. What does Lawton do for downtime?
Yeah, so I'd be in the spinner, and I'd be heading to my home in one of the less reputable parts of LA. The spinner would touch down, and it would be a more crowded street. I'd stop and I'd grab some noodles from a stand to go. They would probably know me by name. I would just go up and just give them a sign, and they'd have it ready to go in a couple minutes, and I would take it into the building right behind, which is where I live. And going from the crowded street inside the building's just empty. I might be one of 3 people that lives in this massive, like, Gothic style apartment building. And I take one of those elevators with the great doors. I close it, and it just creaks up several floors. I get off, and the hallway is just littered with trash. It gets a little bit cleaner as it gets towards my apartment door. And I open it up and go into a very dim apartment. It's fairly tidy, but there's still lots of, like, files and paperwork everywhere. It's very obvious that I take my work home with me. I hit one switch, and light just sort of flickers to life, and then it dies down again, and then it flickers back. It lights up maybe a third of the apartment, so it's mostly washed in shadows. I pour myself a drink, and I crash onto the couch.
So do you check any messages in your terminal? Do you have any kind of, like, entertainment that you pop up? Is there anything in particular? Is it whether it's new school, like something you're kind of watching, like vid feeds or something, or are you old school analog reading books, or anything in particular you do to help kind of crash?
I wouldn't check any messages, whether there are messages or not. It's not the first thing I go to. I would go to a old vid screen on the wall and click a button, and, like, a virtual fireplace, like, video pops up, and it's grainy, and it's got poor feed, and that light barely even shines just a couple feet away, but it has a staticky crackle sound as well. After I have a couple sips on the drink, if I go to entertainment, I would turn on some old black and white private investigator noir films. Maybe Maltese Falcon is my go-to with Humphrey Bogart.
So if I'm reading your character sheet correctly, this is Hawker Circle, right? Isn't this where your home is?
Yes.
Kind of like an old Chinatown ghetto, I think is what it is. So you have, like, kind of a lot of mishmash old architecture, like, patched away. Like, there's nothing new, like, anywhere within this building or in this neighborhood. Okay. So if you're hanging out, so we're just going to walk through how this works. So you're just kind of setting your scene. And so then what the GM does is they kind of roll for an event. And there's basically 2 default tables you roll on. There's the home. So if you decide to hang out at home, there's an event table. And if you decide to kind of go out in the city, there's a street table. So I kind of roll on something, and we just kind of go from there. So let's see what you get. Okay. Yeah. So you're hanging out. You get, you hear some, like, do you have neighbors?
There might be like 3 or 4 people that live in the entire building, so there's not really anyone on my floor.
Yeah, so maybe on your way up, maybe you pass by a person. It's the middle of the day. That's like lunchtime as you're coming in. Essentially, you got your steamed noodles. Maybe you see one of your neighbors. You don't necessarily recognize them by face or by clothing. Maybe they know you're a blader and maybe they don't, but you don't really exchange much of a greeting as they come down. you hear as you kind of start, as the door for your floor closes, you hear the sounds of like voices drifting down from below, like where they apparently met somebody down in the lobby or something like that. The vid kind of flickers in and out. Like the connection seems to be troubling. Your network connection within this old building, and the walls kind of flickers out every now and then, but then it kind of comes back in. And then probably at some point, like as we're watching, you probably fall asleep or something. Your noodles 3/4 eaten, but nothing out of the ordinary actually occurs. So I'll say that maybe a few hours pass as you dozed off. Okay, you actually got some rest, and it's probably later in the afternoon at this point. Is there anything that happens? Like, is there anything that you do immediately when you kind of wake up from that?
When I wake up, that would be the time that I go and check messages, things like that.
Okay.
I probably would get to the noodles that I forgot to eat the night before, so I'd be eating them cold the morning after, and I'd be going through case files as I'm doing that. Okay.
And so we see you pop out your Kia again, and you start going through whatever case files that you have kind of stored or access to. And we'll go ahead and we'll shift. Simple enough. Quiet afternoon for Lawton. Probably by the time you get going again, it'll be evening once more. So next up, it's going to be, we're going to kick over to Faye Harcrow. And we're going to pick up, I'm going to say we're going to pick up shortly after, like within moments, we'll say, of you getting the news about Warwick Foxwell. Now, you probably go back and forth with Bao Mao a few more times. Maybe there's some other follow-up information, but ultimately she's giving you everything she has. Okay. She might be able to, I guess the last thing she might be able to give you, the last thing she might be able to give you is like the name of the trash barge guy. But other than that, like she's given you all she knows and all she's kind of willing to give you. And you kind of get the sense that she's not unconnected. You know, she works with high-end clientele, and kind of she's been more than cooperative, and pushing her any further might result in some trouble. But she'll give you, she gives you a couple names: Portia Kiani, rich family, the Kiani family, lives somewhere, financial district, art galleries. She might even give you the gallery name. Fiamma is the name of her gallery. And then she gives you the name Joe Hualau, who's the trash barge worker, who she doesn't understand where he got the money from, nor does she really know with Ty Walters, even though Ty Walters says apparently gave her a story about winning it in a boxing match. But that's basically all you get when you ask follow-up questions on Warwick Foxwell. He came here, had money, was clean.
Where was his tattoo located?
And so she describes it as kind of being what looks like kind of on the shoulder, kind of wrapped around just underneath like the blade.
Okay. So she'll kind of leave it at that and thank her so much for her assistance. And she's gonna head straight to Warwick's house.
Okay, so I'm gonna put a pause on that for a second. Are you continuing investigation? Because if you're continuing investigation, that's fine. We can do that. We can say you're shifted. No, we totally can, because you don't have to do downtime. You just take an extra stress. Like, we can totally do that. I'm more than happy to do it, but it's different from doing a downtime scene.
No, I want to do the downtime, so I'll do the downtime.
Okay.
So, what were you saying?
No, you're good. That's it. Okay. Yeah, that was just a choice. I just want to kind of be clear.
Yeah. So she, on her way home, she stops at her favorite. This is kind of like her ritual, is she stops at this like kickboxing gym. And she just blows off some steam. And she lives in Little Tokyo. So, within that area, kind of, on her way home, is this boxing ring, and it's not even labeled correctly. Unless you were invited there, you wouldn't even realize that it's a gym. It's labeled Lolo's, and that's all the sign says. And inside, like, it's got like the typical just black mats on the ground, some really old gym equipment, and then there's just boxing bags just hanging everywhere, kind of assorted. And yeah, she heads straight to the changing rooms. She gets her wraps put on. She's got these really cool hot pink wraps that she has so she doesn't bust her knuckles.
So would we say it's middle of the day when you get there? Would there be other, like, how would you say crowded would this place be at this round time? Because we know it's like you kind of have to know it's there. It's not really signaled for. It's probably not too far away from those tent markets I described in the beginning. Because that was Little Tokyo as well. Would we say that there's
I'd say there's
people
maybe
here?
like a handful of people here at this time of day.
Okay.
Like, there's the lady who owns it, who's up at the front reception desk.
Okay.
And then and her name is not Lolo.
Fair enough.
And maybe like 4 or 5 people who are training for like actual like sport events kind of things.
So, Faye, are we on like a heavy bag or something, or you're just would that be fair?
Yeah,
okay.
she's sitting there. She's practicing her kicks, so she starts low and then chop, 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 but she kicks at the top.
And so we just watch as like you're just kind of going at this big montage, like this workout scene, just like, and you're just ripping through things. And at a certain point, after you've probably been at this for 45 minutes, you've been up for 18 hours. Now you're like you just had like this sort of shock of news about your friend, and now you're just expelling all this energy, right? You look at one of these mirrors, right? Because gyms frequently have mirrors, and you see this mirror, and you see like there's a couple other people working, but as you're like kind of watching like the front where the owner, you can see someone kind of walk up. And you can see like they walk past the owner and they start moving out of the actual gym itself. But as they're walking past that front desk, you get kind of a look at their face. And when you see them, like the face is really familiar to you. And it takes a second because it's not one of these regulars. It's not somebody maybe you've sparred with. It's you probably know a handful of folks here, either by name or just by ability. But you see like the face from like your memory, like something from when you were younger, something you have this sort of flicker of this like arowana fish just kind of floating around. It almost pops up, it seems like outside through like the rainy window. You can see kind of almost like a little holographic flicker of some kind of like fake fish stand outside. And you look over and you see the face of a Blade Runner that you recognize, no one you work with. You want to tell us a little bit about the memory that's kind of popping into your brain right now? Do you remember it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, when she was a child, she witnessed a horrible accident. So she was hanging out watching these artificial arowana fish, and she witnessed as a Blade Runner was essentially murdered by a replicant. They were trying to retire this replicant, and they failed to do so. And she was just hiding underneath. She managed to get into the cabinet underneath the arowana tanks and just watched as this poor man's face fell on the ground as he died, and made eye contact with her as he just told her to shh, as one of his last words that he said.
So as you're watching, as you're like kind of, you're breathing, you look up, you see that flicker of that kind of neon sign. You see his face suddenly flash in the doorway after having just passed the owner. you can see that they're having some kind of conversation, you know, and they're kind of laughing and joking, and then suddenly he just puts his finger to his lips, and not at you, but at the owner. And then this is all happening. You see all this in the reflection of this mirror, and then he like leaves out through the front door. What do you do?
She goes up to the owner, which her name is Ha-Yoon.
Okay. Ha-Yoon. Okay.
Mhm.
Young, old.
She's an older woman.
Okay. Oh, my favorite. Okay.
He's prepping the voice already.
Yeah.
I know. I'm thinking.
Miss Ha-Yoon, who's
Yes?
that man?
That man? That's Theodore. He's new client.
He's like me, right? He's a Blade Runner?
No, not at all. He's what did he say he was? Journalist, he says.
Where does he work at?
Oh, I think just GBS, maybe. I didn't get too far in the conversation.
Maybe, you know, he just looked, I thought he was someone I knew. I've had a long shift. I should probably head home.
Well, if you want, you can head home. If you've been hydrating.
Yeah.
Mm.
Just 18 hours, you know?
You don't look good. You have smear.
And she kind of like reaches out and sort of like gingerly touches your face. You look in like the reflection of like it's probably like this like really glossy looking countertop. You look down and you just see like some of your makeup has just started to run like really bad. Like maybe you didn't wipe it off before you started your workout, and it's just kind of gone terrible because of the sweat.
Yeah. And she just kind of like laughs, but it's a really hollow laugh. Like, yeah. All right. Thank you. I'm going to head out. And she goes and she just scoops up her gym bag and doesn't even bother taking off her hand wraps. She just leaves.
So I think you need to roll. Hang on 1 second. Let me see if I can do this. Roll, I think it's empathy plus insight. You have to roll for this. This is a stress factor. This was a stressful situation.
Uh-oh.
I think it's empathy plus, yeah, it's an insight check. So roll insight. Okay.
I got 2 successes.
So yeah, you probably like just the way you role played it, kind of talk yourself out of it. Maybe like that couldn't possibly have been him. Just kind of talk yourself out of it.
He's dead. I was wrong.
Of course, yeah, and you're exhausted, right? And like
long shift.
Exactly. And so we see you kind of pack your stuff up and you head out, and you probably head home or whatever it might be, and we'll kind of fade away from you for a minute there, and we'll get over to Everett MaxWell. What's Everett MaxWell doing?
Yeah, I'm hoping that despite it being the middle morning, Nightclub Row is still active. Everett would like to just go there and hang out in the bars, different vibes. He'll probably start off at one that's, more upbeat, get some of that energy from the Maze Bar that had all that excitement. And then toward the end of his downtime, go to like a smoking and whiskey, like sitting room, nice comfy chair, and just rest and just talk with the local patrons, barkeeps, hang out.
Do we have a name for this bar that you're at? Because I think there would definitely be stuff open. Might not be as crowded, but there would definitely be a scene there, I would think.
I think for the like the one that's like a more of a smoking and like quieter type of environment, it'll be like the Plush Armchair or something.
Plush Armchair. Okay. So yeah. So it's maybe, so is it like a nightclub? Isn't like a dance club? Because that's what I just hit. Or is it more of a lounge?
It's more of a lounge, yeah. It's a mix. I think Nightclub Row is a mix of clubs and bars, so he mostly goes to the bars because he doesn't have any dance moves left in him.
Okay.
He's an old man.
Yeah. He'll throw a hip out.
So while you're at the bar, and what's your drink of choice? What's Everett's drink of choice?
Ooh, I think he just. Actually, no. I'm gonna, because I hate this stuff. Mezcal, that really smoky. Ugh.
Okay. So you're on your, I don't know, 4th or 5th of these or something like that. You're just drinking away. Ugh, just thinking about it. And at a certain point, a young woman kind of sidles up next to you. And you look around the club, this plushed armchair, and it's probably like a very retro look to it, right? Like it's kind of got that faux kind of lacquered wood panels and things like that, you know? So it has the feeling of like something from a century ago, you know?
Right.
And maybe we even see like kind of kitsch decorations. We see things like, you know, record players and such, as opposed to like there being these sort of fancy looking kind of lights and kind of displays and stuff, and like some sort of synth music pounding in the background. Probably a soft jazz or blues kind of in the back beneath it all, but nothing remotely like intrusive. But this young woman steps up, probably mid to late 20s or so. You can see she has her hair kind of smoothed back, like really, really tight. And it kind of comes to a bun in the back. And she's dressed in very fine attire, in the sense like quality. Like you can see when she kind of steps up and she sits down next to you and she says, "Buy a lady a drink?"
Of course. What are you having? Are you real?
Am I real? What an interesting question. And then she reaches over and she like takes your glass. "Maybe you've had too many of these. Maybe I'll just take this one." And she tries to drag it towards herself. Do you let her?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. She brings it to her nose. She almost makes a face and then drinks a little bit, takes a sip, and then puts it down. You can see a little blemish of lipstick is on the glass now. And she kind of looks over at you.
Stuff bites back pretty hard.
"Oh, does it now?" And then she kind of like laughs a little bit. And so, forgive this old gal, an old line, but considering the place, I think it makes a certain kind of poetry. But it's a man like you doing a place like this at this time of day.
Yeah, it's funny. That's why I asked, "Are you real?" You're a little dressed a little too well for this place. Just a long day, you know. Trying to unwind, relax in a quiet environment. Usually, there's a lot of noise where I'm around.
Oh yeah? What is it you do?
I work with the LAPD.
Do you?
Not
You
a
had
popular
that
person.
look to you. I had a feeling.
Is it the shadows under the eyes? Or the alcoholism?
I think it's just the air of authority, maybe.
You flatter me. There's no authority here. I'm just trying to survive like anyone else.
Yeah. Survive, protect, whatever it is. So what do you do in the LAPD?
A whole lot of paperwork. I feel like all the youngins are taking all the action, and old timers like me are just stuck barking at them or filing the paperwork for their messes.
So she just laughs, "Old timer," and she like kind of, her hand kind of comes out and she like kind of rests it on your shoulder momentarily, and she kind of looks at your, like kind of like grabs a few strands of hair in her fingers and sort of lets it go. "Well, you don't look in a day over 35, I would say."
I'm double checking my age. I think that's accurate.
Is it really? I just threw a number out.
I have everything in front of me. It doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So everyone will laugh and say, Quiet and I, you're pretty close. Not exact, but yeah, I mean, that's old for my line of work. You can imagine there's not a lot of friendly faces when I go out.
Oh, I could see that. Sure. But there's a friendly face right here.
Yeah,
I'm
what
sure
brought
you have.
you over to me.
Oh, well. Options as you look around, and there's just like a bunch of like career drunks in the room and such here and there. Options are limited, and I was just thinking, what company in here could possibly entertain me with a story for the afternoon? And you have a look about you. And you must have all sorts of stories, I would think. LAPD and all.
Yeah, that's what and he points to the glass that he handed to her. That's the binding on the storybook to keep it closed. Too many stories.
Oh, stop it. I'm sure there's a tale or two you could tell. Is there not?
Well, it's funny. I recently watched one of my coworkers degrade an officer by telling him to go and get coffee after the guy spent a couple of hours getting a case set up for us, and he just turned into an errand boy. This once my coworker showed up on the scene. So it's one of those times where you can't help but laugh at no matter how much you do and where you've been, someone will just make you get the coffee.
Yes. Isn't that the way of things? You have to work your way up.
And then work your way up as soon as the next guy comes in.
Sure. It's a dog-eat-dog kind of world, I suppose. Not that there are any dogs around.
Everett will laugh, and then he'll pull out his pack of cigarettes and hold it out and see if she takes one.
Oh, she definitely will. Oh, gentleman. And she'll hold it and wait for the light.
Yeah, and he'll get his lighter out and light it.
So, setting up a case, you said. Anything interesting? Anything a gal might want to hear?
Well, I'm not at liberty to talk too much. It's strictly confidential, but I'm sure it's something that's gotten out by now in the recent news. I'm sure you can piece that together.
Oh, well, there's all sorts of crime on the news. So many crimes, in fact. Isn't that just the nature of the city? If it makes the news, it must be very special. I mean, I just saw a story about a fire in a Wallace Corporation.
I heard about that too. Yeah, not on that case. The one I'm working on was more of a. We just think it's the resistance. You know, those jobs where they come out of nowhere and kill a bunch of people and make a statement and then hide.
Oh dear. Terrorists, are you? Okay. Well, if you don't want to share a tale with a newfound friend, I suppose. She reaches down, grabs a drink, takes another little swig, puts it down. Well, I guess there's no use for me here then.
Sorry to disappoint, ma'am. Thank you for the company.
Life is a disappointment. And she puts it back into her mouth and kind of starts to saunter away. Kind of looks over her shoulder at you one last time. And kind of keeps going.
When she is not looking over her shoulder anymore, I don't know this off the top of my head. Is there could I get her fingerprints off the glass?
You can certainly take the glass with you, sure.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know if you have a tech scanner on you the way Lawton might have a kit, but you could take the glass and maybe do it later for sure.
Tuck it in the trench coat.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Okay. All right. We will continue on then. It's going to be Koji's son, Rue. We're going to fade out of that scene as we see him kind of just as we see Everett gingerly just pulling the last of the glass and dropping into his pocket. Fade out. We fade up on Koji. Where's Koji?
Yeah, so after his visit at Jade's at Sector 1, he lives nearby, actually. He lives in Night Row. He's got a dainty apartment above a bar called Devil's Due. So he's headed home. So I'm entering pretty much the nightclub and pretty much just immediately hit with sound, smoke, neon lights. It's pretty much music. It's classical music that's been remixed with like heavy beats, and like synth sounds. Everyone's just jamming in there. The drinks are like neon lit. Every time I take a sip, the colors change. Everyone's just having a good time in there.
Okay. And you have to go through this to get to your...
I have to go through it to get to my apartment, yeah, every time.
All right. I don't necessarily have music that perfectly matches that amalgamation, but I do have club music, so we'll go with that. Okay. Does anyone know you? Do you see anyone you know as you kind of pass through here?
Yeah, I'm pretty much a regular passing by, so like the employees, the bartender, they'll notice me. The regulars there, they'll see me.
Get probably a couple like kind of respectable like waves here and there. Do they know what you do?
Yeah, they're probably familiar with it.
Okay. So do you linger here at all, or do you just go right up to your apartment?
I'll just take a quick drink and head out.
Okay. It's similar to Everett. It's like the middle of the day when because you guys are on like a weird overnight clock. So when you kind of sit down to get the drink, it's not as busy or hopping as it would be, but it's still plenty of people here. So you're kind of giving a quick drink. What is Koji's drink of choice?
Nice old whiskey on the rocks.
And it's kind of, they reach down, they kind of like grab the glass out, kind of pour a couple ice cubes in and slide it on over. Don't really say anything to you. Are you a talker? Are you the type of person who talks a lot, or do they know to leave you alone?
I don't pretty much give too many details, but I do interact with people if I need like their resources. Need to know.
Okay. Is there maybe like a bartender or a manager or an owner here that we might get a name for?
Yeah, we'll call him Dylan.
Okay. Dylan. Young guy, old guy?
Actually, younger guy.
Okay. Just a bartender?
Yeah, he's a bartender.
Okay. So he's probably kind of pours you your drink, slides it over to you, and just says, "Looks like you're getting off, and I'm just getting on. Rough day."
Seems to happen that. Yeah, busy. Out of the blue case.
Oh yeah. Anything interesting?
It's a big fire. It's pretty interesting.
Fire, huh? That's curious. Did they got all them suppression systems and such now?
Yeah, it looks like it was tampered with this time.
Really? Previous owners here, I guess they tried to do some sort of insurance fraud with that once. Backfired. And he kind of giggles at his own joke.
Ah, clever.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. All right, well, we'll try to keep it down for you, but we won't.
Appreciate it.
All right. You can take it to go with you if you want.
And I shall.
Okay.
So I'll head up to my apartment.
All right.
Pretty much bronze lanterns that light the room. In the center, got a giant sand pit. It's like one of those Zen gardens that I could rake through to relax, resolve some stress a bit.
Very cool. Is there anything in there? Anything particular of note, or is it just sand? Or are there any rocks or designs or anything?
It's a giant boulder next to it.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Is it? So you said it's right in the center. It's just like it's like right in the center of the room.
Right in the center of the room.
Okay. Any other adornments in that room around it?
I do have my closet, my walk-in closet, because I have to pretty formal attire, dress up for where I want to go.
Do you ever entertain here? It's probably a small place, but do you ever entertain here?
No, it's just a tiny place.
Okay. All right. And yeah, and you have a club below that you can bring people to. Okay. So you come in, you just had your drink, you're in your process of winding down. Is there, you can still hear the vague hum of the club music, but it's much duller now. What are you doing?
I'll just throw the TV on, see what's going on.
Okay. So you kind of get your vid up, vid screen goes on. You can see that there's your usual GBS. It's kind of GBS. I'm treating it, think of it like a CNN or, you know, something like that, where it's just like this big old kind of 24-hour news network, so to speak. You would know, Koji, like, and all of you would know that there's like literally state-sponsored stuff. It's scripted news. Everything's sort of controlled. GBS has kind of got the strong arm of the UN as they kind of help make sure certain news stories kind of come out. So you see that kind of pop on. And then everything else is essentially sort of like a pay-per-view sort of thing, where it's like there's no channels so much as there are, like, you can just order your entertainment, whatever it might be. Is there any kind of entertainment that Koji would be pulling up?
Battle royales.
Let's just do the action drama.
Okay.
Old movie or show.
Are you doing like throwback action drama? Is it like, are you doing like retro 20th century
old
movies?
School, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we see this old like kind of action movie pop up. I don't know. We see you know, the classic chiseled jaw hero, you know, moving about, kind of taking out, you know, 10, 15 different bad guys in the middle of a shootout. Maybe it's a warehouse, coincidentally enough, you know, that kind of thing. All right. Let's take a look at what happens to old, if anything at all actually happens. Okay. So you hear as you're kind of watching, maybe you're dozing off a little bit, you know, maybe you got your, you know, maybe you've got your legs kind of stretched out on whatever kind of seat you have here, couch or chair. And right as you're about to fall asleep, you hear a buzz at your door.
I'll mute the TV and go answer it.
Okay. And standing in the doorway, I'm kind of pulling this up, you see a familiar face. You didn't give me a name, so I'm just going to make one. But you see, this is your key person. So this is a superior, not necessarily the person, not Deputy Chief. Deputy Chief Holden pulled all of you into this task force. But what normally, like, what does Koji do when he's not in this task force? Like, what is his normal, like, kind of everyday affairs? Like, what does he get to do? Like, you're a fixer, so like, what would you do normally?
Pretty much meet with people, speak with either below the floors or higher ups, try to make connections to get where he wants and what he needs.
Okay. So like you're like to get like deputy chief or something like that?
Oh yeah, to get like a promotion,
Okay.
higher up seat.
Okay, so we'll say like your immediate supervisor. So let's give them a name right now. What do we want to say? Your immediate supervisor.
Let's call him Finn.
Finn. Okay. So you check the door. Maybe there's a keyhole, maybe not. You see your supervisor there in uniform. Open the door. We saying old, young? What are we thinking?
He's old.
Okay, older guy. Door opens up.
Where the fuck have you been, Sunru?
I don't work, and I'm just
I
got
don't
off.
fucking pay you to sit around in your fucking apartment getting your fingers and your toes all up in that sand there. I pay you to make fucking connections, and you ain't making connections right now.
Yeah, who do you need me to connect with?
What do I need you? I need you to get down to that fucking kill magazine, and I need you to kill a fucking story is what I need you to do.
Kill magazine.
Yeah, so there's like a kill magazine. It's a tabloid.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it's like this. So think of it like a TMZ kind of deal, like kind of like a sort of like a scummy tabloid news kind of magazine in a way.
Those fuckers. My nephew, new to the force, you met him. Freaking hothead. God, I hate that guy. On my wife's side. Got a little angry. went a little overboard when he was taking care of a few folks downtown. And apparently one of them kill reporters were right there, and they got it all on vid. And they're gonna go live with it. Police corruption, nepotism in the LAPD. I need you to get you got contacts there, right?
Yeah, I got this. I know a guy.
Now get you, put some fucking shoes on and get the fuck over there.
All right, just give me a moment. I just got home.
You just got home? I didn't approve this task force. I'm gonna have a fucking long talk with Holden about this. You can't just pull my people. This is bullshit.
All right. So you go ahead and you get clothes on here. You don't really get like a long sleep. You hear the sounds of like gunfire popping off from your vid. And then we'll say like you head over to kill.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So so you go ahead, kind of get in your spinner. Do you want to go with Finn or do you want to go by yourself?
No, I can handle this by myself.
Okay.
It's not of them to rate me.
So we head over to Kill, and so we'll cut scene. And Kill is in sort of this media area. It is not a pretty place, but when you head there, you can see that it's maybe midway up a building, maybe about 50, 60 floors up. You can see that there's like, as you go in, you kind of go in through the main entrance, you can see along the hallways and such, there are all these different kind of displays that are showing like recent headlines, famous headlines like corruption here, corruption there. And not only that, but they're talking about like corporate corruption, UN corruption, LAPD corruption. The amount of times you see the word corruption, if it was a drinking game, you would be drunk 10 feet into the hallway. It's all over the place. Then you see what looks basically like these kind of famous vid stars, like kind of like these nude shots and stuff that are really creepy and predatory, but you see stuff's kind of like blacked out here and there. And you come up to a front desk where you see the receptionist there. She got this big old hair. She's got what looks to be like some kind of pen in her hand, but it's not like an actual physical pen, but something she's just sort of twirling around with. And she's just chewing on gum. And she looks up at you and she's like, yeah, you got an appointment?
Yeah, maybe one right now.
Okay. Who for?
An editor.
An editor? We have a lot of editors. Do you have a specific one in mind?
Yeah, give me James.
James? We have 6 James on staff. Could you be more specific?
Give me the 7th one.
The 7th one? But there's only 6. Get out of my face here. You're wasting my time. I'm very busy.
No, he's James the 7th. He's 7th of his line.
James the 7th? What is he, royalty? What are you talking about? I don't need any more freaking cokeheads in here today. I already got 5 or 6 of them so far. Go ahead. Go along. I don't care how cute you are, sir. Go get going.
And I'm pretty much trying to get to this guy, whoever this is.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, and I'll say you can. Since that went so terribly, I'll let you roll a die instead. Go ahead and make maybe a manipulation test or something to try to like convince her to let you in to see this editor.
I just need to unmute for the podcast listeners that we are all broken over the 7th of his line.
7th of his line.
A whole dynasty of James.
So many Jameses. Okay.
Okay, I have a B in manipulation.
Yep. So, and you've got, go ahead, do, so. Oh my God.
D10 and D12.
Okay. Give it a roll.
6 and a 7. I believe those are both passes.
Both passes. And she's like, okay, 1 second. Let me see which one's available. Okay. Oh, look. Okay. 1 second. And she like hits she's got a little display and she kind of pops and like you can hear shit. You can't hear the other side of the voice. But she's like, yeah, Mr. Lipton, I've got a man here who needs to talk to you. He flashed a badge of some kind. Do you have a name?
Yeah, Koji.
Koji. Is that a first or a last?
It's a first.
Do you know a Koji? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay. All right. And then she kind of hits a button. You can go back. 5th door on the left, right through that hallway.
Have a good day, miss.
You too. And you hear like the wheels squeak, and you kind of see that she's sort of peeking at you as you walk away. You go down the hall. You see like this big bullpen of people working here and there. You got vid screens everywhere from all over the city. And you kind of go into this one door, and you see this man who has got to be like 250 pounds. He's a big dude. He's got this sort of what looks like a long sleeve, but wrinkled dress shirt. His tie is a little bit loose here and there, but it's not a very pretty tie to begin with. Hair kind of slicked back, but he's got a big old like bald spot right in the front. And he sees you walk, and he's like, "Koji, you son of a bitch! What do you want?"
You know I'm here. I need a story removed.
You need a story removed? That's not how it works. You don't tell me what you need. I tell you what I need. And right now, I don't need you.
Well, you're gonna need me soon. Maybe you want something here and there.
I'm gonna want something here and there? What do you mean? I'm gonna want like what? Handies out in the alleyway? Come on, buddy. You gotta give me something more than that.
Got long.
I can't do more than handies. Oh my god!
I've got my standards.
I broke them. What are you gonna give me? I need info. I need a story. I need something. This is a two-way street, Koji. You want something from me? You gotta give something to me.
If you want me coming back, just remove the story.
What are you threatening me?
No.
Are you threatening me? Listen, you'd be doing me a favor. LAPD cop roughs up editor. Oh, you think we can't do a little something with that? That's called street cred, son. Come on now. Threatening me. Look at you. You're a little toothpick.
I've got some stories, maybe. We can try them out.
Oh, yeah? What do you got? Let's hear it. You give me something better than what I have. I got rookie cop, I got nepotism, and I got abuse of an old lady. You got something that's better than that? Well, then I'll go ahead and I'll run with it.
Abuse of an old lady, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, you didn't tell you about that, huh? Oh, yeah, harassing a poor old woman, just taking the groceries back to her apartment.
I'll just give him maybe something about. Wait, are certain versions of replicants legal again? I forget.
Nexus 9s are legal. Like Nexus 8s are the ones that are kind of hidden. And usually those are the ones that when you're hunting down replicants, you're usually hunting down Nexus 8s. Nexus 9s is basically what Arley is.
Okay. Maybe I'll just give him some stories about some hidden replicants.
Okay. I'll say go ahead and roll a connections test, we'll say.
Connections.
Yeah, so it's just yeah, I figured it. Well, you're a fixer, so this is exactly what you would normally do.
Yeah.
He's just got a file of like information that hasn't been released to the public yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix this by pushing it because I rolled a 1 and 2.
Oh no!
And you rolled a 1, so then
You
that's
rolled a
going to affect
1.
you on the push.
You can't re-roll the 1. You're going to take it stressed by that.
Yeah.
Resolve or whatever.
I rolled 10, so I think that's 1 success.
Okay, so
2 successes.
So we'll say that you managed to. It's not an easy, like. Plus, you're really tired. You didn't get any sleep. You know, it's one thing after the other. You haven't been able to gain any rest, and then this guy is kind of giving you some. Your supervisor's, kind of breathing down your neck here, and now this guy is kind of busting your balls. But you do manage to kind of throw out, like, maybe it's not your specific case that you're working on. Maybe it's a past case where you kind of reference something like maybe it's a wanted replicant. Maybe you know a name, or maybe you know an identity or something like that. But you give him something juicy enough that he could like, all right, Koji, all right.
I'll go ahead and I'll bury the story for now. But you tell that little old lady, that old lady beating cop of that yours or whatever. I'm drunk, sorry. You tell him. He acts up again. I'm running with it. I don't care who you are.
That's on him after that.
Get out of my office now. I got work to do.
All right. So we see Koji leave. And then finally, we go to Arley. Arley, what are you doing for your downtime? We're an hour in already. This is crazy.
I know. I'm enjoying everybody's downtime. So Arley, she is going to head over to Sector 2. And so she's kind of going a bit towards the kind of arts district, kind of the entertainment section. And so kind of close to Hysteria Hall, which there's a lot of kind of arcade stuff, which she considered going to, but isn't going to this time. She's feeling a little bit more kind of like artsy. So she goes to this building. It kind of looks like a kind of a nondescript kind of a warehouse kind of building. And there's kind of this like neon sign in the window. And so the name of the place is called Tinta Ebrio. And basically she kind of knows the woman that runs the place. It's basically open 24/7, and it's one of those like BYOB art kind of places. So you kind of bring your own alcohol, and she has, kind of different times a day, different, kind of art that people can go in. 2 hours later, you come out with, like everybody's got the same picture kind of a thing. But so the woman's name is Arona, and they kind of have this kind of deal that they have going on, because Arley is very into like the whole like black and white vibe, and that's kind of her thing. And so she had met Arona kind of a while back, and they were just kind of talking about kind of whether or not black and white art can be kind of just as interesting as colorful art. And of course, everybody kind of wants to do all of the colors and everything. And so Arley will kind of sit in the back of whatever class she's doing, and will replicate whatever the kind of picture of the day is, only in like kind of black and white, paint, pencils, different things like that. And if Arona agrees that the black and white turned out just as good as the color, then Arley doesn't have to pay for the class. But if Arley fails and doesn't capture the picture, then Arley has to pay for the class. So,
okay. What would the topic of the day be?
So this is actually kind of a difficult one, because it is a landscape scene. And so it's a landscape with a lake and some different kind of waterfowl on the lake. So like ducks and swans and different things like that.
Okay. Why don't you roll either, we'll say an observation or a mobility test, maybe something like that, to see how you're, because we don't have a crafting skill, but like observation maybe to kind of observe, or mobility that suggests like your ability to kind of reproduce things in a kind of careful way.
I will take mobility, because that comes off of agility,
okay.
Which is an A for Arley. So that, oh man, oh gosh, this is bad. That's a 1 and a 1.
It's a crit fail.
Yes.
Okay. So
she uses colors in the painting.
You're sitting there and you're working on this, and like you're looking over, you're looking at the display, looking over, looking at the display. You don't really know how much time passes, like, which is kind of peculiar for you. You do this trick where you just sort of like let like your internal clock just sort of start to fade a bit. And so you're not really sure how much time has passed. And you can see at a certain point, like some of the other people that have kind of come in around the same time as you, that were kind of doing similar things, they're kind of packing their things up and they're leaving. And eventually Arona comes over towards you and kind of is leaning over, kind of your back a bit. And she says, Arley, sweetie, is something wrong? Did you not like the display today?
What?
Sweetie,
What?
you're all over the place. These aren't ducks and swans. What is this? What? And so when you look down at your canvas, you see the design, the graffiti, the tattoo design for Wake Up. W-I-K, and then the E with an up. And it's right there, blasted in front of you. It's black and white. You can see the eye is like open. You can see like the lashes are kind of coming down. And it's well done, but it is not at all. And not only that, but you don't have any memory of the past as you look at the clock now and you reset your internal timers. It's been hours. It's been like 3-4 hours. And you have like no memory of even doing this for the last 3-4 hours. And when you look up in black and white, you can see this tattoo, this graffiti, this symbol, whatever this is, this slogan is right there in front of you.
I don't, and she's just gonna, kind of just flatten the canvas, sort of face down on the table. I don't know. And she's gonna kind of fumble, kind of in her coat pocket. And she's gonna, and she will, I saw this in chat, basically, she will pay, for the class plus extra. Never mind. I'll see you another time.
Are you sure you're okay, sweetie? You look a little off.
Yep, fine. Just, you know how it goes. Sometimes you sometimes you think you're going to paint one thing and you paint something else.
Well, yeah, but not to this degree. This isn't really close at all. Have you seen this somewhere? Is this something that you've seen? Is this like something you saw outside your home? Was it graffiti? What is this? What does this even mean? Wake up. Oh, that's clever. Okay.
I mean, the kids over at the hall, they're always talking some nonsense, They're
Roll a manipulation test since you're attempting to deceive her.
Yes, I am. All right, so that is a 10 and 8. That is a 6 and an 8.
Okay. Well, idle hands, I suppose. At least they're doing something productive. Like, that's better than stealing and all sorts of other things. And besides, the city can be ugly. Very ugly. And a little bit of beauty could make everyone's day a little better.
How? And so she's sort of settled a tiny bit, and she just sort of wants to kind of fix this interaction a little bit. So, how was the class? How did everyone else do?
Oh, it was all right here and there. I don't think there's anyone that's going to be showing at a gallery or anything anytime soon. But there's a few people with some talent, I suppose. An eye for detail and such.
And Arley looks around and just says, looks like the day drinkers didn't make too much of a mess of the place.
No. There was one man who was trying to talk to you, but you were just miles away. I thought he was just, you were just giving him the cold shoulder, but I guess you were very focused, I suppose. Very focused. That's a good thing.
A man, you say? What did he look like?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe mid-40s or something.
Not really sure. Kind of dirty brown hair. You know me. I don't take names. This is art. I don't need to know your name. You're fine. Transactions are transactions, and we move on.
And he wasn't here for your class. He was just trying to
he was here for the class. Sure, he just seemed less interested in drawing ducks and swans than he did in talking to you.
Oh, well, that didn't go well for him then, did it?
Oh no, he seemed very disappointed.
Well,
upset, you might even say.
I would hate to disappoint. And she'll kind of reach out for kind of a little extra. Any chance you have the class registration sitting around that I might take a look at?
Roll. So you're bribing her?
Yes.
Connections, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is a 2 and a 5, so let's fail.
I told you, darling, I try not to keep track. People give me their names, and obviously when they pay with their cred feeds and such, I have to see it, but I just think we don't need to be so intrusive with one another, you know? It just feels wrong in some way, like just everyone just be free in who they are and find their art.
You can push, by the way.
I automatically get a stress anytime I push.
Okay. You're also going to get a stress by what's happened here as well.
Yeah. It's one of the things I was looking at because I'm only ever dealing with 3 resolve. So my margins are a little tighter. Okay. I will push though, because by the end of the downtime, I'm going to get a resolve back. So
yeah,
it'll bring me down to 1, and then hopefully I'll go right back up to 2.
Okay.
And that's a 4 and a 4. So okay. I did that for nothing.
No. So we'll say you continue the conversation for a little bit, but ultimately you aren't able to identify who that was. You have your drawing of this symbol, and you bid adieu to Orona, I think you said her name was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she says goodbye and very polite, and you kind of go about your way. So let's hit the mechanics of this then. So then for everybody, for downtime, there's healing that comes into play. I don't know, everyone didn't really lose a lot of health, but for humans, you restore 1 lost health and 1 point of resolve. And for replicants, it's 2 health and 1 resolve.
Just that's how I muted myself real quick.
Just
I can hear
flicking
the
off our douchebag neighbor who at 9 o'clock on a Friday night has to rev their fucking engines like an asshole. Sorry. I'm a very old man now.
Get off my lawn.
So.
All right. Back up to full health and 2 of 3 resolve.
Okay. So then some time is going to pass. All of you will get a little bit of rest. Nighttime will come around and you can kind of get back to work. So let's cut back to Lawton, since he was the one who kind of started all this and he's been sitting for a while. So Steven, who would you say Lawton would reach out to? What do you think Lawton would want to do as like the next stage of this investigation? Assuming, again, remember, you all have can easily communicate with one another. So who would Lawton communicate with? What would Lawton want to do next?
Okay. Putting me on the spot. I should have been planning what to do after downtime, but I didn't. I was listening to everyone else's downtime. So my next lead would probably be the what's the name of the junkyard type place? The Kibble? Kippler? Kipple. I think
it's much bigger than a junkyard. It's enormous.
I know,
but yeah. Okay.
And I'd probably call Arley because she's expendable and that place is dangerous.
Okay. Do you say that to her when you talk to her? Okay.
I would say I would send her a message. I wouldn't want to like vid call her. It would be something text saying, I'm going to the Kipple. I require backup to go there. I'll be picking you up in 20 minutes.
And Arley will reply back, not at home. I'll be there in 60. I'm so glad that I can be your backup, Mr. Lawton, Mr. Stone.
Where are you? I'll get you where you are.
I will meet you at home in 60 minutes.
I will not respond to that, and I will go. I'll sift through some case files until the time comes. And you know what? I'm gonna show up a half hour late because we're doing our own power dynamics here.
And Arley is going to message kind of the rest of the group and just say, Stone and I are headed to the Kipple to follow up on a radiation signature lead.
Faye immediately types back, Mr. Lawton, Mr. Stone, asterisk as like correction.
Does this mean you will join us?
Probably not. I'm itching to gamble. I was gonna see if Everett, and she ats him, wanted to go to the casino.
Everett will respond back with just the thumbs up emoji.
And then she does Koji ?
And then you'll all get a notification. Lawton Stone has left this chat.
Hey, adds Lawton, Mr. Lawton, Mr. Stone to this chat.
All right. So
loving that we are harping group text.
Faye and Everett are going to Happy Jack's Casino. Lawton and Arley are heading out to the Kipple. Koji, where are you going?
What other leads do we have?
Let's see. You do have the apartment address of this Ty Lawton or Ty Walt. What would I call him? What's his damn name?
Ty Walter.
Ty Walter. You have his address. You got that from Everett when he was speaking with one of the warehouse reps, Happy Jack's Casino. Let's see. There's some of the other names that popped up when Faye was talking to Bao Mao, Portia Kiani, your friend Warwick, Faye, the trash barge fella. That's about it.
I can do a little stakeout at Ty Walters.
Okay. So Everett, so we kind of split up in the same way we split last time. Okay, cool. All right, so I'll try to hop around as best I can. So Lawton and Arley, you're heading out to the Kipple. Are you bringing any particular resources? Is there anything that you're looking to bring with you, Lawton? Any kind of specialized equipment?
Obviously radiation detection, that kind of thing. And then I would probably be just choosing my regular type of kit. Like, I don't actually know what kind of special equipment I would need. Just, I would want to have everything I can to follow up on the radiation signal that I have logged away.
Okay, so let's have one of you do some sort of tech or observation test as you try, as you're driving around. The more successes, the better. You're up in your spinners. It is a huge place. You don't really have anything to narrow it down yet. So this is going to be, I'm going to treat this almost like a skill endeavor, like a skill challenge thing, where it's going to take more than just one single success to find it, since you don't have anything else to narrow down the search. So I'm going to say, like, we can kind of do like tech or observation makes the most sense. So if you guys want to start
I
giving that a roll.
have advantage on tech
Yeah, that's fine.
for anything that requires knowledge of natural science. That would be radiation, right?
Yeah, go
so
for it.
Arley,
That
are
sounds
you
good.
cool with me saying that you're flying the spinner as I'm like working the scanners and all that?
Yeah, and I imagine I am observing as I'm driving. So
And advantage means I get to roll 2 of the lower die, correct?
Yeah, 2 of the lower
Yes.
die, and you take the better.
That is a 7 and an 8, so 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay. So, and I'll say, Arley, go ahead and roll an observation test. We'll say as well, as you're just
Yeah.
kind of looking with your eyes. Like there's nothing more that you're really doing.
she is clearly still distracted by what just happened because that was a 3 and a 4.
Well, she
Okay.
drives into a tree.
Well, there's not any trees left, and also
Light
you're flying.
pole.
There you go. That's probably right. Okay,
I'm about
so-
to run into this like big trash heap. I feel like Stone has to like yell at Harley to like focus.
All right. So like I said, I'm going to treat this a little bit like a sort of like a skill challenge or something like that. And you've got 2 successes. We'll say you spend probably the first half of your shift driving around, and it is just flying around these heaps. And what you see out in front of you, like it's literally just this, it's like rolling hills of trash. Like that's all this is, as far as you can see. And the thing is, like, you can't really actually see very far because there is just this blanketing small cloud that covers everything. You see deep valleys, you see kind of tall towers, you see what looks like the residue of like these old structures and buildings. Like sometime in the past, this was part of the city, but it's been essentially kind of turned into this massive multi-mile, huge trash heap. You see trash barges coming and going. Some they're coming from the city and kind of dumping here, as this is sort of like a temporary waste point. Those seem to be kind of operated by people more than once. You kind of hear like over the comms, someone will radio to you, and like they're kind of telling you like you're in the wrong lane or something like that, like clear, or they're just kind of letting you know where they're going, what their vector is. And you see these huge trash barges just kind of fly past you, which are like, your spinner is nimble, it's mobile, it's flying around without a whole lot of ease, but these things are just these massive square blocks that just fly through, and they just seem to find a quadrant and just let loose like all manner of trash. Other times you see these massive ships, like huge ships, like moon bus size, come around, kind of scoop up these huge chunks, and those are the ones that start kind of flying things off down south to the San Diego wastes. But I'll say for the first half of your travel, like Arley, you can't see pretty much anything. You have to essentially, if you want to see anything but these little peaks of trash heap that kind of peek through the small cloud, you have to like fly underneath it. And once you do that, it's dangerous. And so you're kind of relying pretty heavily on Lawton's radiation signatures. And Lawton, you're seeing peaks here and there, like it's popping up, but nothing kind of matches. We'll say you have some kind of device like plugged into your Kia, some sort of module or something like that lets you track certain signatures, and you're getting all manner of like radioactivity in different places, which is somewhat alarming, but nothing that necessarily matches yet what you're looking for. We'll kick over then for let's kick to Koji first. Koji, you want to go over to this guy's apartment. So you got the address. It's basically Sector 1, Entertainment District, Red Light. You've been to the Red Light District before. It's the south end. It's by the 101 stack. You could see this kind of old, like the old residue of like ground highway that basically no one really, uses as much anymore, but it's there. And you can see that the building itself is it's ground level. You can see that there's a much larger building that has essentially been built over top of this one in several others, as if a lot of these old buildings along street level are being used effectively as a foundation for a much larger, taller tower above it. But nonetheless, they've kind of rented out some of these foundation floors. Many of these foundation buildings are empty, but you get an address from Gavin Detiri, who is the Everett's contact there, and you kind of park out. Do you get out of your car, or do you like stake out from your spinner?
I'm gonna actually scope out the area. I'm gonna get out of the car. I'm gonna check out what's like around, what kind of people are around here.
Okay. Do you want to talk to people, or do you want to do? I'm gonna give you a roll. Do you want to do more of an observation where you're just looking for things, or do you want to do more like an insight connections and just talk to folks? What do you prefer?
Insight.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Give that a roll, and we'll see if you pick up any info.
Okay. I failed again with a 1.
You want to push?
I'm gonna push. Yeah, I'll push it.
Okay.
Oh, a 10 again. So the 2 success.
It's a little like you probably have a couple scary moments. This is not the greatest neighborhood, and more than once you probably come across like a group of folk who are just either kind of sort of slumming it down in an alley, or just like a kind of a squad of folks that are heading out for the night, because it is nighttime at this point when you guys kind of get back to work. But you all are able to eventually kind of smooth things over and avoid any violence or any aggression. And when you talk to folks, what are you asking? Like, what are you asking about?
Maybe who lives around here? What do they do? And generally, maybe they know this Thai guy.
Okay, so like if you just ask like about general folks around here, like no one good lives around here. Everyone around here is, I don't know, they're just waiting around to die, or some people are squatting, others, little this, little that, gang territory and stuff. You might not want to make yourself too well known there, Copper, especially with that pretty looking getup you got on. But Thai, you say? And they like you see like this group of maybe 3 or 4 folks are they've already kind of tied one on before heading out for the night. Is that boxer fella? Always got the black eyes and such.
I've heard he does some fighting.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, where's he at? They kind of look around. Yeah, there you go. Right up there. 3rd floor up. I think that's where he's at. I don't think he's got any neighbors. I think he's got the whole floor to himself. Keeps to himself for the most part, I suppose. But I don't know. He's a strange one. Always kind of talking to himself lately. You ever seen those types of folks on the street? You just kind of wander past and you hear them talk and you think, well, maybe they're on some kind of mobile vidphone or something, and you look over and like, no, they just talking to themselves.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, kind of unstable, I think. Saw him deck a guy the other day, just no particular reason, I think. I don't know. Guy was holding the door open for him and just kind of cold cocked him right in the face. I don't know, he probably took one too many swings.
You see him meet with anybody? Or he just keeps himself?
You got 2 successes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, yeah. There was one fella I saw. He kind of go up with them once to his apartment. Kind of short, little squirrely fella, He smelled pretty rotten, that guy. You can kind of smell him from 20 feet away or something. Kind of leaves a stench behind him too, Some kind of trash worker or something, I think. But yeah, I mean, I didn't get too close to hear what they had to say, but they were talking something fierce, real fierce. Anyhow, they went up there. I mean, I don't know if they're there now. I haven't seen them for, 2 days or so. But they were up there a few days back. They were. You could see that See how dark that building is? His window's the only one that ever has light coming out of it. And that damn light was on there for a long period of time, it felt like. Oh, you know what? There was someone else here once too, now that I think about it. Now, she was a lot nicer. Didn't have that same kind of stench. She looked a little rough around the edges, but like in the right sort of way, you know? Like she was a greaser type. She had that kind of look to her, like she tinkered with some things. But she didn't go up with him, though. He was mad at her, though. He was mad at her. She was just saying, no, something. She don't got it. She don't got it. Whatever the hell that means. And he wasn't being violent towards her, so we let him have the peace. What's that?
Said it's good info you're giving me here. I'll have to check out the place.
Okay, well, you have fun there, Copper. All right, so we'll cut over then. Everett, Faye, you're heading to Happy Jack's?
Heading to Happy Jack's.
Okay. Yep. So Happy Jack's Casino, you are also in Sector 1, Entertainment District, red light. You're kind of north side, north end. Koji right now is on the south end. And you are in a much more kind of, it's very busy area. It's nighttime, like I said. We're just kind of getting into the nighttime. So you see kind of, there's a sort of a big crowd on the streets that you're pushing through. People are grabbing food from street vendors and such. You can see it's not just food vendors that are just kind of setting up stalls, but others are just kind of hawking like basic wares or kind of trying to get like repairs. Like they're calling out like, we can do this, we can do that. And you can see like down alleys, there's groups of folks like your copper like your police, you kind of eye down. You realize there's probably some shady stuff happening here and there. But as you bring your spinner down, people kind of back away from it at that point. You know, there's like kind of the announcement speaker comes out, the sirens and such. But you land it not too far away from the entrance to Happy Jack's. I'll tell you what, go ahead and both of you, if you would like, you can roll an observation test as you start moving on in. Tide went on.
Engage eyeballs.
Tide one on, yeah. We used to use that a bunch.
Oh no, I
got 3 successes.
Uh-oh.
Faye, what did you get, you said?
I got a unicorn and I pushed.
Okay, so that's a
like
resolve.
After I pushed.
So this is observations, this is intelligence, so this will be a resolve, so ding yourself resolve.
Okay.
Everett, you got 3. Holy crap, dude. Okay, so Everett, I'll actually give you a couple things out front. Before
it's the nicotine.
Must be. In that mezcal, apparently. Out front, you do notice, as you're looking around, there's certainly some dealing that's happening out here. Stuff that's probably not really much of your concern. Like, definitely narcotics division's probably pretty active around here. But one thing you do notice, down this alleyway just north of the casino, you do see that there is like this kind of side entrance to the casino, like to the building where the casino is held. You see like people periodically kind of go in and come out. And with your 3 successes, I'll say you notice that like they're coming out with like bags, like gear bags of some kind. Can't tell what's in them, but you can see they go down inside and then they kind of come up and they leave. And it seems like they're, and like the folks that are coming and going are some pretty kind of tough looking folk, you know. They have the look, I would say you all are familiar. Maybe you've done a stint in narcotics in the past, but they have the look of kind of people like within certain circles, you know, like gang circles and such, right? Like probably known, you might even see known colors shining or something like that here and there.
Looks like sorry.
No, go ahead.
Everett was just going to say to Faye, looks like the Was it the mafia, the mob? I don't know. You see those guys in that alley over there moving those bags? What do you think it is? Bodies, gold bars, smokes?
Smokes. Really, Everett? It's probably coke.
It's a good. Oh yeah.
Did you never do a stunt in Narcs?
I don't know. I don't got time for that. I dealt enough with that in another life.
You're watching too many oldie movies.
You want one? And he offers Faye a cigarette. He holds up his pack.
My body is a temple. I am not interested.
Well, mine's a tar temple. Is that a thing?
And she just kind of looks and no. And
So-
they call me the meathead. Go ahead.
So once you guys start heading in, you look around. It's not too hard to get inside. It's definitely got an old-fashioned feel to it. It's seedy, it's grimy. You can see there's a lot of old timers. Nothing's particularly glamorous. It doesn't have that kind of look to it. You pass by and you see a couple bouncers up front kind of give you a kind of a quick look, and they want to do a pat down. Do you let them? Or do you flash badges? What do you do?
This is a casino, so Everett actually might try and just hand them like a respectable amount of money and just say like, we're not here to cause problems. We're just looking to get out from the rain.
Okay. Okay. Roll a manipulation test. Faye, what are you doing?
She was not letting them pat her down. Like Everett walked in first. She was behind them with kind of like the arms crossed thing again. Kind of dusting off, wiping the rain off her shoulders and her arms and stuff, but doesn't go to be pat down.
Okay.
Jeff, I appreciate you changing the multiplier on my dice. I rolled 3 more success.
Right? Like
Nuts,
every
dude.
time you
My
roll,
God.
it's
When we
crazy.
get into combat,
Can we just
you
play
are
Blade Runner forever?
Because your dice are gonna betray you so bad. Okay, I'll say with the extra successes, you're able to not just kind of bribe them, leave you alone, but also leave Faye alone. And like as he kind of like one of the bouncers kind of leans in, he says, "Don't cause any problems in here, right?
I'll be on my best behavior.
Mr. Ehlers, he's gonna be very upset if you cause any problems in here. Okay?"
Not a problem. I appreciate the heads up. You're doing great work here.
He reaches out and he kind of like taps you very gently on the side of your face. Okay. You have fun, old timer.
Are you head of security?
Head of security? Sure, I'm head of security.
Could we ask you a few questions?
Get your ass inside the casino and out of the fucking way. There are other goddamn customers behind you. And there are. Like, you're in a queue to get in.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, if you want to flash your badges and stuff, go right ahead. It's just, it sounded like Everett wasn't doing that, so.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
keeping
and
us a low profile. So he'll like,
Everett's
yeah.
lead, yeah.
Okay.
he'll hook the big muscly lady and be like, "Come on, darling."
Oh, goodness.
I just imagine you just tiny, skinny man,
Yeah, I think I'm shorter than you, aren't I?
buff
Probably.
lady.
All right, so you head in, you look around, seedy, grimy. There's a lot of older folks here. You can see that there's like rows and rows of what looks like, slot machines and stuff. You hear all manner of different sounds and kind of lights here and there. Everett, you feel immediately at home because there's just cigarette smoke there, and basically everywhere. It just smells like you're in kind of a nicotine factory here. It's this grimy faux wood all over the place, not unlike the bar that you were in earlier
Fake
in the
coffin.
day. There's a strange smell on the air. It's a mixture of like different flavors of tobacco, but also like sneakers or something, some kind of weird kind of like rubbery scent that kind of comes out through it. You can see that there are a handful of like actual tables for like there's like a whole subsection in the area. As you look around the big pit, there's like all these different tables of what you imagine is probably poker or blackjack. You got these animatronic dealers that are sort of shooting cards out onto the table here and there. You can see that there's like a bar. There's like the actual like kind of you can tell probably the pit boss kind of moving around here and there. You can see this one woman who's got like this sort of like, you can tell she's got like coveralls on, tools around, and she's like sitting there trying to like fix some of these dealers, like these animatronic dealers, as people are getting pissed off because they're like,
This thing's broken. It keeps giving me bullshit cards. Oh, it wins again. God damn it, Alice. You better get this shit right. I ain't coming here for 10 years. You'll take every bit of my money.
and like people are just kind of be screaming out. But yeah. So I'll say, why don't you all just kind of tell me in general, what are you two doing? And then I'm going to cut to a different scene. So what would you two be looking to do here?
Everett would want to... He would probably want to try and find some, like, folks who work for the casino who aren't busy and look a little seedy, because if I remember correctly, Monty had a debt. So he's going to want to ask just casually, like, was at the warehouse. He's going to try and act like he's not a commie, like, oh, one of the warehouse guys mentioned Monty's in some debts.
Okay. All right.
I'll turn his trench coat inside out so it looks totally different.
Okay, so you're looking for casino workers. Okay. And Faye, what are you doing?
Faye is just gonna kind of like pick a machine that's like around people, and she's just gonna eavesdrop.
Okay. So, and you're just gonna eavesdrop. All right. So
I'm
we'll
just
say
basically
maybe
looking for rumors.
Okay. So we'll say, Everett, you can probably maybe sit down at the bar where they actually have live bartenders that are kind of giving out drinks and such. Whereas like the dealers are these like really like they have like fake setups of like a bust of a person, but it's not a real person. It's just like this shiny kind of rubbery plastic looking figure. And then at the very base of them, there's an automated machine that just shoots cards out. And then they have
Just
to,
out
and
of their
people have to
belly
drop their
button?
right out of their belly buttons. Yep.
I'm assuming this
just-
rubber texture is what we smelled burning.
Is
Someone burned one of
exactly
them
what
down.
you were smelling as you're like, oh, as you come past. And so we'll say you sit down, you post up in the bar, grab a drink, and you start listening in the conversations. Faye, you do the same thing as you hit the slots. Let's cut back then to Lawton and Arley. It's gotten much darker as night has fully fallen. So observation checks are a little bit more difficult here. So I'm going to say whoever rolls the observation, you're going to get disadvantage as your eyes are becoming more difficult to see by. But the tech is still fine. So go ahead and roll again.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm all B's on observation. How about you, Arley?
Yeah, I am C and B, and so disadvantage means you remove the lower die. So I will be rolling a D10.
Looks like we'd be the same either way. So you want to roll or me? Go ahead. I'm probably looking at the scanner, so go ahead and roll.
Hoping that my dice luck turns around with this roll. That's a 10. That's 2 successes.
Hey.
I was due after all the ones.
Go ahead, Lawton. Give us that tech roll.
Oh, we're both rolling? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want them both because I'm basically treating it like you have to hit a certain number and then just representing the time it takes you to sort of travel around and
The
look
tech
at
is at
everything.
disadvantage too?
No, tech is fine because you're just looking at signals. It's just observations, like she's looking out with her eyes into a dark, smog-covered, trash-covered nightscape.
You just have to look at the scanner and see if it lights up the pretty color.
Regular, just a single success.
Okay, well, that's still going to put you at 5, which is what I actually put the challenge at.
Yay.
So with that, Arley, you as you're kind of, you've got your hands on the controls. Like maybe occasionally you got your autopilot on or something like that, but maybe you take controls every now and then and kind of shift between them here or there. But at a certain point, you start to see up ahead as you've probably got like floodlights and things, searchlights shooting out from your spinner. you start to see that there are contours on the horizon that aren't just your average massive trash heap, but in fact looks to be like this sort of framework for some sort of large structure. And you can see that not only is it a structure, but you see like kind of some sort of like cylindrical kind of exhaust stack. And you see it with two successes with your 10, you see it further enough away that you can kind of move the spinner around, and you kind of take this long veering turn around it. But as you do, Lawton, you see on your tracker, this radiation signature just pops up. You see kind of you see basically a perfect match. It's faint, but nonetheless, it's the first time you've seen a hit, and you've seen all sorts of craziness out here. And it seems to be coming from what you now look at as you kind of hover over top, light shining down, is a fairly big half buried compound that is probably with some sort of like electronics or chemical recycling plant or something like that in the past, but it's no longer functional, and there's trash just sort of abutted against it, and it's almost hidden within these kind of different valleys and such. What would you like to do?
Wait. Yeah, we've got a match. A perfect match.
I also think this building seems a bit out of place here. I do believe I saw the building before you noticed the radiation signature. Just for the notes, I do believe I saw that first.
You go ahead, write down whatever notes you want. While we're on the subject of making notes, make a note to call whoever programmed you to drive, because you have hit almost 3 posts out of nowhere. We have the whole open sky.
Yes, we do. I do not believe it is the fault of programming, but I have had a...
Oh, you're just naturally bad at it.
Incident recently in this general vicinity. So I would believe you call that distracted driving, as it were.
Incident? What incident have you had?
Oh, that isn't necessarily any of your business. I was just providing context for my performance.
Provide further context.
I do not believe I will do that, but I will make a note as you requested. It does appear that your scanner. See, I am programmed to see things, and I saw that the building did not look out. You just needed the little machine that you're holding to tell you that the colors matched the other colors. I'm so glad that you noticed that.
You know how to park? Maybe you could land.
I do. Would you like a 3-point turn or a 5-point turn before the park? Do you have a preference?
Just get us safely on the ground.
Okay, I will certainly do that. And she's going to over maneuver this little, I don't know what a 5-point turn is. It just sounded fun. So she's really doing that thing where she is braking a little bit harder just to sort of, create a little bit of, kind of that riding experience for Stone. And then we'll set it down and say, it does appear that we have arrived.
I've been holding the oh shit bar this entire time.
Okay.
Appropriately.
You take it down. It's an enormous building. You can tell that some of it's probably under the trash heap or has collapsed at some point under that heap. But it is quite large. It certainly is some sort of former plant. What's your plan here? What would you like to do?
Definitely have the signals, the sensor still going. Want to confirm. And then I'd like to just check for any signs of activity, whether spinners have been around in the area, if there's been foot traffic, any sort of life.
Okay. And Arley, what are you doing while he's and I'll say no roll needed on the tech stuff. It's definitely matching. The closer you as you got down to the ground surface and as you're kind of getting close to the plant itself on foot, You can definitely tell that the signal's slightly stronger, but it still doesn't seem like it's not off the charts the way it was in the factory, but you can still see something was here at some point, or maybe it's still here, or residue of it is here. It's hard to tell for sure, but you can tell it does kind of peak in strength as you get closer to the factory itself. Arley, what would you be doing in this?
I'm wondering, and this might be a detail that isn't necessarily observable, but I'm wondering, because you notice you had mentioned in your description that the junk and trash seem to sort of abut this building. I kind of wanted to look at that and see if that appears to be sort of something newer that's happened, like if it seems like it's been disrupted recently, or if it seems like it's been like that for a long time.
All right. I think both of you can just make observation tests, but you're looking for different information, so go ahead and you both do it. As Lawton, you're looking for any signs of activity in the area. Maybe you're doing a full sweep, I would say, maybe around the grounds, around the actual building itself, as much as you can. Arley, you're specifically looking at where this trash is kind of piled up.
That is a 4 and a 9, so 2 successes.
Okay. Yeah, because 8 and above is a doubles, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. 9 and a 2 for me, so just 1 success.
A 9 would be a double
that's a double.
success.
So
Nine's a
2.
double.
Sorry, you just said
Okay. So, Arley, specifically, you can tell that the heap that's abutting this, like you can see this big slope, it's old. Like you can see the signs of what looks like a lot of dampness, as if things have just sort of merged together over time as the rain has hit this. It's been outdoors for a significant period of time. The smell is just hitting your senses like immensely, right? And I'll say with your seconds, since you got 2 successes, you also notice what looks like little carved out tunnels here and there.
Okay.
That was an interesting way of saying okay there. Y'all hear that? There's tone to that. Well, okay.
That's all you got, Jeff?
No, it was
okay.
a curious, like,
Yeah.
I was thinking
Okay.
tunnel, like human-sized tunnel, or a tunnel like smaller.
Large
Sure.
enough for you to pass through it, sure.
Okay.
Maybe you're crouching down a bit, but yeah, you can certainly pass through it. Lawton, you're looking for signs. You do, in fact, I'll say you see, first of all, you said you were looking for signs of spinner activity. So you don't see anything that would suggest like a police spinner, but you do see signs that a vehicle or two has parked here. You see kind of like some burn residue, depression here and there. One looks to be, one of these things look to be relatively the size of a spinner. It's like it's likely was like a cab or something like that, a fly cab. But you also notice something much larger, and because you saw it on the way in, you would say it kind of matches the size of one of those larger city barges that would kind of ferry trash out into the wastes, or not into the waste, into the kipple before it kind of went south. So we'll say this is what you all start to do. You'll reconnect, and while you're thinking about what you want to do next, let's pop over to Koji. Koji, you talked to a couple folks. Maybe you hung around a while, kept looking up at the apartment. You're here for maybe a few hours. That light never goes on. Not only that, but you see no one go in or out of that building in the hours that you're watching. What would you like to do?
I'd like to go up and even knock on it, see if I can get an answer.
Okay, so you head inside, and it's a 3rd floor up. The main floor is hideous. You can see what looks like this old black and white tile that has been fractured, and you can see there's what looks like mildew growth, maybe even black mold growth in some places. There looks to be like this old, some sort of maybe like a check-in desk, maybe it was like a hotel at one point. And that's kind of the same thing, kind of has this kind of coating of some sort of filth to it. You're hoping maybe it's just filth and not anything more serious than that. But ultimately, it just, this whole place has just, kind of the aura of it really probably should be burned down or filled in with concrete or something like that. And you would imagine at some point they might do that to help support the structure of the in progress building above. You get up to the 3rd floor. The stairwell, as the lift does not work, the stairwell is sort of creaky the whole way up. You can see fractured tiles here and there. There's a window or two small along the way where you can kind of peek out to the street. But you don't really see anything of note. You do notice as you kind of get up to probably between the 2nd and the 3rd floors, you're starting to see like a lot of like graffiti that has been interspersed all over the place. Some of it old and faded, some of it newer. As you can tell, it doesn't quite have that kind of overcoat of filth. When you get to the 3rd floor, you pop out. You do notice that when you kick the door, or like when you push the door open, it's really, really, really tough to do so. Like you have to kind of push your shoulder in it, not to the point where you need to roll, but as you kind of push and it flings open, you hear the sounds of bells, like ding, 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 kind of going off. And it's not alarm bells. It's literally just someone had set up like a physical kind of like clinking of like bells and metals on the inside as you push it open.
I'll go ahead and just make my way to this door. See if anyone's home.
You head over to the door. Everything's quiet. I imagine you probably have a flashlight, a torch out, torch as in the flashlight, use of the word. Not like, flame, open flame. You've got the flashlight out. You're looking around. You can tell that the 3rd floor, much like the 2nd floor, you can see that it overlooks the lobby below. And so you can actually see down to the lobby. You can see that black and white tile as you shine down. There's a little bit of the street light coming in through the lobby door, but not much else. When you get to the door that you think would be the one that is the apartment that you saw from outside that you were pointed to, you don't hear anything. You don't see a light underneath the door. Nothing. Doesn't look like there's at first glance you think there's nobody in there.
Is there like ways out, multiple ways in, or just this entrance?
So there's the stairwell that you came up. There's a lift that you tried and it had no power. And then there's like this, you could just kind of go down, like you're at like a balcony, and it's like an open lobby below. And you can see that like someone could conceivably hop over top or kind of climb down one of the pedestals or something like that. And then there's always the window. It's 3rd floor. It's not the easiest thing. You didn't notice a fire escape though.
Then I'll see if it's open at all. Just a quick little tug.
It is locked or jammed or barred in some ways. It doesn't open easily. This time you're going to have to figure out a way through. You could just do like a force test if you want to try to just force it open. You could do, I would say, a stealth test if you had any kind of like equipment or tools on you for like a lockpick sort of situation. Otherwise, it would be a force to try to open this up.
Yeah, I'm gonna assume I can get some proper wards here before I enter.
Sure. I mean, like if you call back on the Kia to the headquarters, and this, you kind of expedite. You mention the name, address, association with this Chemplast warehouse, and it is extraordinarily expedited. Something about this company, something about the fact that it's a sort of a subsidiary of Wallace Corps, and then not only that, but you recall that Deputy Chief Holden was saying that like his higher ups were pressuring him, and so he's now pressuring you, and it comes through fast. Yeah, you're free and clear. In fact, this guy doesn't even technically live here. It's just squatting rights.
I'll go ahead and force my way in.
All right, roll that force then. Roll strength force.
Okay, I have a D in force with a C in strength.
You're going to be able to get in. It's just a question of whether you get in without hurting yourself is basically the situation.
Okay.
Do you bounce off embarrassingly, or do you make it through?
And then fall over top of the balcony, land 3 floors down, and he's dead, and no one ever knows.
2 5s. I barely missed it.
Okay. So we're gonna say you're gonna take. Don't worry about pushing it because you're gonna take 1 point of health as you slam your shoulder in. You use you try to kick the handle a bit, and eventually you kind of push it open. But you can feel like your shoulder is just a little bit out of whack. Like this isn't your thing. Physicality isn't necessarily Koji's main thing, right? But you're able to push it through, and you do notice that like it was essentially not barred from the inside, but you can tell they did that kind of classic, like there's a chair that was like kind of underneath the handle, but there's also nailed into the floor. There was this small little chunk of something, like it was like just like debris that they found that was kind of nailed in the floor to kind of help it. And you had to like break that sort of barricade. But yeah, you've pushed through, you've opened it up, and you're inside the apartment. I'll give you a description, and then you can kind of think about what you want to do, and I'll cut over to Everett and Faye while you think. So when you get inside, you can say that surprisingly enough, despite the state of the rest of this building, the apartment is actually largely clean. You can see that someone has taken steps to sort of remove that grime and that filth that you've seen everywhere else. You can see that there is this fold down Murphy bed in the wall. It's definitely old, but you think that they've at least replaced, whoever was here has like replaced some of like the sheets and things like that. You're not sure about the mattress. There is like this old kind of rusted steel look to a lot of the furnishings in here. You can see that there is really basic things like basic table, coffee table, basic, kind of like this basic little desk with like a kind of a retro terminal sitting on top of it. You can see that there's a series of like these artificial plants and stuff, but it's in actually relatively clean shape. And despite the fact that it's clean from a grime perspective, it's actually very untidy, as like furniture's aligned, trash, like you can tell stuff has sort of been knocked over here and there. It's got the feel as if like either a fight happened here or someone just kind of lost their shit. And so think about that. I'm going to cut over to Everett and Faye, and we'll come back. So Everett and Faye, last we saw you were inside the casino. You're both just kind of getting a feel for the place. So why don't we do a couple basic roles? Everett, you're trying to specifically talk to some casino workers, right? That's what it was?
Yeah, people who might look like they're not too busy and of a seedier nature, so I could get some details about Monty's debt.
Okay. Let's do like, why don't you do an insight as you try to read who might be the best person to talk to around here. Faye, you were just trying to kind of like
gather rumors, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Connections, we'll say, for you.
Okay.
I got 2 success.
Dude, you are on fire.
Yeah, Derek just doesn't miss his rolls.
How'd you do, Ashley?
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Get a 1
it
and a 2.
automatically removes your resolve. Okay.
Okay,
I got
cool.
a unicorn. Yep.
Okay. So, I'm going to resolve Faye's first. As maybe you're moving around, maybe you're talking to some of like the serving staff who are like bringing drinks and things to various people who are at these betting tables, or maybe you're kind of like chatting with some of the security that's kind of roaming around here and there. And at a certain point, you see a guy kind of, well, actually you feel a tap on your shoulder. And you look behind and you see a older man, probably in his late 50s or so, well dressed. You can see he's got a suit on, vest underneath, tie, the whole 9 yards. He's probably the best dressed person in here. He's got a look to him that says like he's in charge. And I think I actually might have a picture of him for you. I'll share with you. Let me see. Trying to remember if I did. Yeah, I did. Okay. So I've been kind of collecting all the because there's an NPC file in the journal there. You can kind of take a look at, but I will give you access. As he kind of looks at you, kind of crinkled forehead, and he says, "Ma'am, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave if you continue to harass the staff here. This is a place of business, and people are trying to work here. So either take a seat, put a token in one of these machines, try your luck, sit down at the table, get dealt some cards, lose some, win some, buy a drink, or you're gonna have to leave."
Sorry.
You understand?
Yeah, maybe I'll go get a drink.
That sounds like a good idea. Why don't you do that?
And she nods and she goes to the bar.
Okay. Meanwhile, Everett, you got 2 successes. You're okay. So you're kind of sort of looking around. You're at the bar area. You're looking around, kind of trying to assess. Bartender is not the person. So they are like making drinks. The place is busy. At a certain point, you see a woman who's got that coveralls on. She was kind of repairing stuff when you saw her come in. You see she comes over and she finds like this corner booth and she kind of flops down into it and she drops on top of the table in this booth like what looks like the inner workings of one of these machines, and she starts tinkering with it, and then she just sort of like slams the table, leans back, closes her eyes, and is just sort of, she looks like she's done with this shit, is kind of the feeling you get.
Everett will buy 2 drinks, one being a beer and then another being like a pretty, I don't know, I guess common, like harder drink, and he'll walk over to the table and set them down in front of her and say, you look like you could use some refreshment or stamina for what you got going on there.
She opens up her eyes, kind of looks at you. Her hair's a mess, but she's got what looks like some kind of like device over top of her head. It's got what you think is just sort of a band of like LEDs that she'll flip on, and kind of like as she's sort of looking at certain things. You know, her like her hair along her temples and her chin are kind of matted to her skin a bit. She looks at you. She looks at the drink. She looks at what's at the table. Yeah. And she leans up, looks over, and you can see she's looking in the direction of like the pit, where at this point you now see Faye is kind of getting a talking to from a man in a very nice suit. And she says, "Well, Isaac seems busy. All right, I'll take one of those." And so she reaches over and she takes like the harder drink from you. She just kind of grabs that and whoosh. "Oh, thank you. I needed that. You wouldn't happen to know how to fix an F62 model machine head here?"
Afraid I'm not too technically inclined, but I could see if there's anything that stands out to my untrained eye, maybe.
So that's a no, then.
No, I'm afraid not. I can't keep track of my reading glasses. This looks like a lot of small parts.
She looks up and over. She sees Faye still getting a talking to. She grabs the other drink from your hand now. She starts drinking that one too. "Oh, I need to find a new line of work. Oh, goodness. Listen, thank you for the drinks, but this isn't going to go anywhere, okay?"
Not looking for anything like that. I actually, I've got a friend who's in a bit of trouble. I'm trying to help him out. Owes a little bit of money. I was wondering, do you know a Monty by any chance?
She kind of like sits back, and you can tell that she was kind of friendly up until that point, but she's just like, Monty?
Yeah.
Old guy? Loudmouth?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Thinks he owns every place he goes into? You're a friend of his?
It was a long time ago. He, got me out of a pinch, so it's not like I hang out with him on every Sunday or whatever. I try to look out for the guy after what he gave to me.
Well, I know him. He comes in here from time to time, but I can't say I'm friendly with him. He's a real piece of shit,
He rubs people that way. He's a
real piece of shit.
Okay. What makes you say that? It's not hard for me to believe, but you've piqued my curiosity. What's the new low he stooped to?
Well, he grabs my ass almost every time I see him, even though I tell him not to, even though I punch him in the face, and even though more than one of these bouncers have threatened to break his freaking neck. But he keeps doing it. So there's that. Is that good enough for you?
Yeah, he's a pig. Definitely. Why you guys keep him around then, or let him back in?
I don't know. He and Isaac go back a ways or something.
Did you hear anything about him recently getting into some debts?
No, I heard he got his ass kicked. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was by Ty, right?
And she's kind of smiled a bit, but then her face kind of falls a bit. Yeah. You seem to know a lot. Who are you?
Like I said, I'm just an old friend of Monty's. I do too much drinking and too much listening. It's all I got left in this old age,
You're a cop, aren't you? An old friend of Monty's means a cop. I know he used to be a cop. If you're an old friend of his, then you must be a cop too.
Well, cops can save regular people too.
Maybe if you're a cop, you got to tell me you're a cop. That's the rules.
That's true. That is the rules. I'm not a cop.
Make a manipulation test. At this point, she thinks you're a cop.
Okay.
But he flipped his trench coat the other side.
Yeah,
so
the trench coat's inside out. I got 2 successes. The trench coat is inside out.
He specifically said he wasn't a cop.
I know. You have to say it, right? It's totally not true, but whatever. It's fun to say. She still eyes you suspiciously, but she lets it drop for now. And she says, I don't know. He owes sometimes and sometimes he doesn't. They had another, I don't know. It didn't matter. Whatever debt he came up with, I guess he and Isaac had a deal under the table or something. I don't know what it is. But that's not why he got his ass kicked, though.
And it wasn't because he kept perving out on you?
No. I mean, Ty came in. Ty's he's a big boy. He always looks like he's been in a fight. I guess when you see a person who's always been in a fight, maybe you shouldn't be picking a fight with him. I don't know what it was about. He was just screaming at him left and right. And I'm gonna get you. I know what you did. I don't know. He did something.
Well, I can only clean up so many of Monty's messes. Sounds like I gotta talk to this Isaac guy and make sure his bills are all paid up, otherwise my neck gets on the line somehow. So, thanks for your time. Sorry about your gizmos and your gadgets here, but I'll leave you in peace now.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Copper. She kind of gives you a grin.
He chuckles under his breath.
All right. Cut from that scene. And then we'll go, let's see. I think we're going to go to Lawton and Arley. We're out in the kipple. You just discovered a couple little traces of things by this heap in this factory. What do you two want to do?
We said we want to go in the tower. We want to go inside. First we need to radio back, though.
Yes, we will share our
Okay.
updates with everyone in case going down these tunnels ends up being a bad idea.
Okay. So you fill in everybody here and there. No problem. So we'll say everyone is up to date on where you're at. No issues there. And you guys want to go inside the tunnels or you want to go inside the factory?
Arley points to the tunnels and says, "This seems like the way in," and sort of waits for confirmation from Stone.
I would point towards the door. I think that would seem like the way in.
Well, that seems like the direct way. I'm laughing at Ashley. We're going to Rochambeau this decision for tunnel or door. It would appear that the tunnel would be the way to not announce our entrance. Are you looking to knock on the front door and ring the doorbell and ask for permission to enter?
I'll kind of look around. It seems pretty empty to me. I say we just go in. I don't need to ask permission.
And Arley will sort of look at the tunnels, look at the door, look at Stone.
All right, Arley. I think I understand the problem here. You see,
Do you know?
Humans don't like living underground. We prefer buildings. We make structures. I know that doesn't really affect your sensibilities at all, but tunnels are something that we tend to shy away from.
So you're saying you're
places we go
scared
to for
of
shelter.
the tunnel. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that the door makes you comfortable. The tunnel makes you nervous, and you would prefer not to be scared.
I'm saying if you were human, you might understand that where you would live would be in a building, not a tunnel.
I do live in a building. I'm not
Well, then let's go inside the
understanding
building.
the metaphor.
That's common with you, isn't it?
And Arley's very seriously considering going in the tunnel anyway, but will pull out her little notes and just say, and just kind of aloud as she's sort of making this note, Arley recommends entering interesting looking tunnels. Stone insists on avoiding closed spaces. Question mark. Closes the notebook.
You think
Let's
anyone
knock on
reads
that
those
front
notes?
door. Well, I do have my own meetings that I attend to at HQ, but clearly you don't
baseline tests count.
need to concern yourself with that. Let's go knock on this door. And
Are you sure you don't want to go in the tunnels?
I clearly want to go in the tunnels, but we're going in the door. So Arley walks her into the front door.
Let's go to the tunnels.
I'm going to cut to Koji in a second if you all don't make a fucking decision. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm giving
What are we
Arley
doing?
a hard time.
We're at the front door.
Let's go to the door.
All right. So the door you find is like a giant metallic rusted kind of like barn door style, like on a, one of those things that you kind of wheel open. It's rusted, but you can see that you can probably move it. If the two of you work together, no roll necessary. You can, which honestly is a question. Do the two of you work together?
Let's be honest. Arley probably is doing most of the work anyways.
Yeah, probably. Okay. So the two of you start.
I'll put a finger in there.
Okay. So you open the door and you kind of get hit with like this odor, this sort of kind of a mixture of sort of like still set water and also I don't know, maybe like feces. Get your flashlights out. You're entering in what looks like some sort of factory floor area. And you're looking around and you can tell that there are a lot of there's like a ton of equipment here. Like what looks like plastic pressing here and stuff, and like molds and stuff for like what some sort of devices. It's hard to tell for sure. As you're moving around, you can tell that some of the more like kind of ubiquitous type of tech has already kind of been scavenged through. Like you can see like anything that would have been useful has probably already been picked clean. And what's left is essentially these giant industrial tubs, these huge bins that have been kind of ripped open here and there over time. More than once you come across what looks like this sort of puddle in the ground that when you kind of test it really quick, you see it's not so much a puddle, but it's just sort of like a pool, as it just seems to have like worked its way through the concrete floor of the factory and kind of down even further into the base. The whole while it's this horrible, horrible smell. You can see that there are what looks like some metal kind of rafters that moves around kind of this factory floor area, kind of like a second level. You also see kind of on the far northern side, there looks to be what you would imagine might be like offices or some other kind of private rooms or labs or things like that that doesn't look to necessarily be factory related. So what do you guys want to do?
Arley would
rooms
want
and
to
labs.
peek over to the scanner and see if there's any kind of particular direction. If we've kind of located the radiation signature
All right.
as much as we will.
I think we've extended this as far as it's gonna go with the whole like radiation thing. Like we're not gonna
it's
treat
in
it
this
like a
area.
motion sensor from like Alien or
Okay.
anything like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
In which case, then the labs would probably make the most sense of where to go.
No, Arley has a point. Let's bring up the radiation and try to really pinpoint where this is coming from.
Let's
Okay.
make sure we know exactly which molecule is in the radiation.
As the two of you are standing over top of, standing next to each other, looking down at this display, trying to figure things out, you hear, and behind you, the doors have shut. And you hear this like loud thump.
I'm sure that's normal.
Arley will run back to the door.
Okay. You run back to the door.
Try to push it back open again.
Roll a force test.
Okay.
This will be contested.
Oh no. That's a fail.
You are unable to open it. It's jammed, or it's stuck, or it's being held by someone else.
Arley, quit messing with the door. Let's check out these rooms.
This
Lawton,
is
you hear above you, clink, 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 clink.
Arley, come over here as we check out these rooms.
yeah. The door's not opening. Again,
Yeah, quit messing with the door.
what do you hear?
You hear something scrambling across, you think, one of these metal walkways up above. It is pitch black in here, other than the small section where you're flashing your flashlight.
I pull out my blaster. I don't hear anything.
Arley will kind of go, so if it's a floor above, but it's moving in a particular direction.
So imagine a big factory floor. Okay. Lots of machinery, various tubs of things. Then above it, like it's still like this giant room, but there's like a second kind of catwalk that's sort of around it.
Okay.
There's stairs on either the east and west side that both go up to it. Everything looks a little rickety and old and rusted, but that's kind of where Lawton would have heard something skittering across. Then off on the northern side, you can see it leads through a series of doors, offices, things like that. It doesn't look like factory floor anymore.
Okay. Arley would move towards the nearest stair that goes up to the catwalk.
Okay. So you move up towards the stair. Lawton, what are you doing?
I asked Arley to come over here, but if she's not going to follow me, I'm going to stick to her.
Okay.
So Arley also has her blaster out.
Okay. So the two of you both have blasters out. You start going up the stair.
Arley does, yes.
You hear crunch, like a crunch as you step on some sort of trash, and then you hear it kind of creak. The stair kind of wobbles a little bit. Take another step, happens again. Take another step, happens again. The next step, your foot just sort of sinks through a little bit as the metal just seems like it's kind of bendy at a certain point. But eventually, you make it up to the railing. That's when you hear...
I went up a little bit sideways so that I could like check behind, like overhead and behind at the same time.
Okay. Roll an observation test.
That is 2 successes. I got a 10 and a 1.
As you're moving up, kind of going up sideways, you're looking. So we'll say you went up on the west side. You see across on the east side, you see a figure suddenly kind of move across on the walkway as if it's running across, and it kind of matches up perfectly with as something skittering across, and it sort of disappears into sort of the northeastern side of the room. And there's like this big black hole over there. You shine your light and you just see like this trash is just sort of matted there. Part of the wall is kind of cracked a bit, and you can see a bit of the abutment of the heaps has kind of started to kick through here and there. But you see a figure just runs across.
Humanoid figure?
Yeah. We're in Blade Runner, man.
Yeah. Just checking.
There's only humanoid figures.
I don't know what you're throwing at me, Jeff. I want to be clear.
It's a face hugger.
Yeah, I will softly elbow Arley and keep my flashlight pointed that direction and just kind of nod that way.
And Arley will nod, keep her blaster out, and will continue in that direction towards the light.
So you move up, you start moving across. You get to the northeastern section, and you see that there's this disgusting sort of black sludge that just seems to have caked onto the wall. You can see part of the heap, the trash heap, has kind of seeped through. And you can see one of those tunnel entrances, Arley, is sort of hidden within this big black sludge.
And Arley will kind of point to that and kind of mouse back to stone. Tunnel.
Cover me. I want a sample. And I'll try to get a sample of the sludge.
So you go to lean down. So the sludge is basically like around the outskirts of this tunnel. You get your little sample out. You go to lean down. As you're leaning down to get the sample, Arley, you got your blaster, you got your flashlight. You shine it kind of over Lawton's shoulder. And you're making sure that he can see. And right as you kind of move the light a little bit, you notice that it kind of covers part of the entrance to this tunnel. You see a face just pop up, covered in this sort of grimy old gas mask, and leaps out at you. We're going to cut to Koji now. Who is
you bastard.
So yeah, there's this gas masked fella just leaps up at you, and he's going to attempt to basically tackle you. We're gonna situate this, and then I am gonna cut to Koji because I don't want him sitting there. So I'll say, let's see, who is this actually gonna target? It's gonna target actually Arley, as they're going to try to essentially just tackle you down. Go ahead, and I'm going to say you can choose between either force or mobility here, Arley, but either way, it's going to be disadvantaged.
I will take mobility because that lets me keep a D12. So I'd rather roll a D12 than a D10.
Gotcha.
Hopefully.
Okay. Okay.
One success.
All right. I have 2 successes.
Yeah.
So they're going to tackle you. And as they do, we're going to say your flashlight kind of flops down into this sludge. Lawton, you kind of get knocked over as well. And as Arley, you go slamming to the ground. You feel your shoulder kind of slam into the grating a bit. You feel the walkway just sort of pull from its bolts along the wall and kind of shake a little bit. But that's not all. Lawton, as you're kind of falling backwards from the sort of the effect of it, you look up and you can see another face has popped up from within that tunnel, and then a third. And now we're going to kick over to Koji. As you two can go ahead and review combat rules if you like. All right, Koji, we are back in this apartment.
I've got my flashlight out, just scanning through the apartment, see if anyone's hiding in here.
Then you see popping out from the shadows a gas. No. I would say it's a small enough apartment that if you've got your flashlight out and you're doing your due diligence, no roll necessary. If you're just looking for someone to hide, like you check on it, like there's only a couple obvious places where a person would be. No one's in here.
Then I'll take my time to kind of scan the apartment, look for hidden places, hidden spots.
Okay. Now I'll take an observation for that.
Okay. Got 1 success.
Okay. This is one of those situations where if you get extra successes, you might get extra information. So it's up to you if you're good with just the 1.
Yeah, my push would be a D6, so it wouldn't be any better.
Okay. So you notice there is a terminal here, kind of an older model. So it's definitely something you could potentially kind of hack into. We're going to make, since you only have the 1 success, we're going to make that a separate roll. But the other thing you find as you're looking around, you notice that when you first came in, like the Murphy bed was sort of like a jar. It wasn't like fully down. It wasn't fully up. You know what a Murphy bed is, right?
Yeah, the one on the wall.
Yeah, the one that you pull down. And it was kind of like hanging halfway out at like maybe a 70-degree angle. When you pull it down, like you can see the sheet, the mattress, it kind of stinks here and there. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that pasted to the wall on the interior of the Murphy bed is you have what you would probably be very familiar with as sort of like this sort of psycho wall, right? You just see all sorts of like photos and various like pieces of paper or not necessarily paper, but you can see printouts and things like that have been kind of stitched onto the wall here and there. At first glance, you can see that there are drone shots of Monty Croyle. You can see what looks like a photo of Monty Croyle, and because it was probably shared with you from Lawton and Arley, a photo of Officer Hoyt Zemke leaving Maeve's bar over in Sector 12, where Everett and Faye went the second session. And yeah, you just see lots of his of basically what just looks like Monty Croyle here, Monty Croyle there.
Yeah, so that confirms he's pretty much spying on this guy.
Mm-hmm. And then you got this terminal sitting here too. And that's the only other thing probably with your 1 success that stands out to you here.
And I'll see if I can make work with this terminal.
So this is going to be a tech this time. You want to get in there, see if you can kind of get past whatever basic security you might have.
2 to 3. I'll go ahead and push.
You got a 2 and a 3. Okay, you got a 2 and a 3. Gotcha.
Got a 6 this time, so with a 1 success.
Okay, that's good enough. So I'll say you get in, and you basically find 2 things of interest. This is probably going to take you a little bit of time to kind of read through and sift through it all. But you do find what looks like footage, like stored footage, like actual like clips, and you can see like various dates over the past couple of weeks and such. And as you start playing some of the clips, you can see that it's Monty Croyle's home. It's kind of a grainy, it's not the greatest video footage, but because you're the one who found it, you can quickly piece together the angle of this room catches part of the bed, but mostly it seems like it's catching the desk, his terminal, so that it can actually see his messages and see him accessing it, Monty Croyle accessing it. And you think that's likely this was that spy camera that you found in his room was likely looking at. And you can see that there are, most of the footage is just absolute blank. You know, it's just nothing. And like you're fast forwarding through it. But there are times where you see Monty there and he's kind of going through some things. So if you take time, no extra roll here, but it's just a matter of like, if you take the time, you can kind of sift through the footage.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and spend time to scan it.
Okay. The other thing I would say is that you do find some correspondence between it looks like a guy Ty, but also what looks to be someone with the initials JHL, and most of their communication, their correspondence, seems to deal with Croyle and Zemke. And what you can basically see is that whoever this JHL is trying to calm Ty down. That's kind of what you're getting. Tells him to stick to the plan, that he found the materials. He's going to leave the device in the usual place. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, let's see. Trying to see if there's a roll possibly for this. Can you just do a straight intelligence roll?
Yeah.
Yeah, just do a straight intelligence roll.
That's a D10 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Got a 5, no pass.
Okay. Do you want to push?
Yeah. It's free, right? Unless you get a 1.
Unless you get a 1, yeah.
At 3, it's fail.
Okay. Yeah. JHL doesn't immediately come, doesn't really make too much sense. But you do notice that there is, there are some, you can tell that in addition to like the usual place and some other files here and there, it's definitely, there's a lot of route planning and scouting of the Kipple. Like you can see that there's sites or there's like different routes here and there, as if they're wherever maybe Ty was looking was at some place out in the Kipple to the east. So I'll say if you study the footage, which means that no matter what happens with Lawton and Arley, so if they call in and they say, please come help us, you have committed to looking at this footage for the next couple of hours and you're not leaving early or anything like that. Okay. So if you
there would be any reason for us to go,
if you hear them, we're dying, help us. If you hear anything like that, maybe you turned your Kia off so you can focus. That's what
Oh no.
Okay. So you've got this hidden camera. You're seeing all these different holographic displays of text messages and vidphone projections on basically his wall. And this camera, that hidden camera, is just giving the perfect angle of it all. And so if you study, you notice that Monty Croyle has a particularly bad reaction when he reads this message that says, I know what you did. You're going to burn just like they did, a message that you also found. Well, what's new is that after reading the message, you see that he actually contacts a few people, and the camera is actually able to sort of see who he messages. One is Officer Hoyt Zemke, which is a name that you're familiar with at this point, but there are 2 other names that pop up. One of which you specifically, Koji, would know. Ronald Zephyr. Ronald Zephyr is a reporter at Kill. And then another name, and you might even know this too, but I'm gonna I would probably want more of a roll for this one, like a connections roll. Lena Kova. And the message reads, which one of you opened your fucking mouth? All you had to do was stay quiet. How hard is that? And don't come crying to me about a conscience. You know what that got May. So if you want to roll that connections roll to see if you recognize that other Lena Kova, you can. And while you do that, I'm going to thank Dysfunctional RPGs who just gave us a raid. Thank you very much. Appreciate having you here. Playing some Blade Runner. We are all split up all over the place right now.
Welcome in.
Do a little connection here. 3 to 5. I will go ahead and push.
Boy, you are...
Try to remember who these people are.
You are the absolute opposite of Everett MaxWell right now. Thundercat. Oh, nice. What's up?
Doing that extra moment of thought, I do realize who they are with the 6 and 8, 2 success.
You recognize Lena Kova because Lena Kova is former LAPD, but very high up, former chief, and as actually even higher now is now LAPD liaison to the UN. Super high up, much higher than Deputy Chief Holden, actually, at this point. 2 tiers higher than Deputy Chief.
Dang.
Okay.
This case goes high.
And I'll say that's probably all you're going to be able to get.
This is probably what I want to withhold uploading.
So, good point.
Not
Good
letting
point.
people know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So yeah, it's one of the things if you want to upload the evidence for sure. Okay. All right. So we're going to cut away from Koji then. I think Koji, I'll say this, you feel pretty good that you've gotten some good things here, but there's really not much else to find, you know? I'll also give you this. You can tell that looks like he might have there's definitely like a way out through the window. Like you can see as you look out the window, there's various handholds and footholds that kind of appear. It's not perfect, but likely he might have like borrowed the door and climbed down or something like that. Okay. We'll kick over to Everett and Faye. Everett and Faye, can you go ahead and see? So Faye, you were coming over to the bar. Everett, you just finished your conversation with this repair woman. And we'll say the two of you meet inside the bar now. Inside Happy Jack's casino. What do you two want to do?
What was going on over there with you? Why are you getting talked to by a suit?
It was just speaking to the other patrons, and apparently they don't like to talk to me.
Well, I mean, if you're flapping your gums too loud, they probably don't like that. You're taking away their business by distracting them. What was the guy's name? Did you get it? I got some dirt on Monty, I think.
I didn't ask him for his name. He was,
He didn't have a badge on, a nameplate?
No.
Well,
He
some
seemed
person.
important. He was probably like the owner of this place.
I wonder if it's the guy that we need. Some lady I was talking to said that Monty, first of all, was hated by pretty much everyone here. But he did have some sort of working relationship with someone named Isaac. So either Isaac took care of his debts or perhaps held on to it. I'm not too sure. But
I mean, the doorman did tell us that Allers was working the floor, and he looks important.
That could be the other guy.
I'm not really good at talking to people.
Well, stick with me. If someone needs some roughing up, we could use that too.
Yeah, because we're going to rough someone up in the middle of a casino and cause, more drama.
Can make people bet on it. It would work out for us. You could take them, right?
Yeah, and I'll show up on the front page of Kill Magazine and lose my job.
All right. Good point. You got me there.
Why am I suddenly New Jersey?
I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't say anything. But I was like, it's probably my fault because I do that a little bit too. Like, I don't know what a California Blade Runner accent would be. So I gotta change the voices.
Somehow,
what you want to do?
We're here.
The only other thing we knew about this place was Hoyt got assaulted nearby the casino. Do we want to check out the surrounding area? Or we could see what those guys were taking away in those duffel bags. I got a good feeling about that. Some gold bars. We could retire early.
It's the different type of bars that...
White gold, yellow gold, it doesn't make it... It'll make money.
I know.
What do you think?
That's a different case.
All right, fair point. So then we want to try and find the... see if we can find some evidence of...
Why don't you see if you can talk to Mr. Allers and see what he'll tell you about his employee, Ty. if he knows his whereabouts, his location. I know Koji's over at his house, but last we heard, he's not there.
Okay. Could do that. Is the pit boss still roaming around?
Yeah, I mean, he has a very clear presence on the floor of the casino, for sure.
Okay. I think Everett would walk up to him then and just say,
Okay.
Excuse me, sir. Can I have a minute of your time? Just a quick question.
Kind of takes a look at you. And he's like, all bets are final. All right. You opted into it. If you hear about getting some kind of refund, I don't want to hear it.
I'm good. I'm good leaving my money with you. What I was curious about is I need to talk with Ty Walters. Seems he had an incident with my friend Monty.
You're a friend of Monty's.
It's a complicated. I'll hang out with him. He covered my ass, saved me once. You know, I kind of owe him. More like a debt type scenario.
You know him, you owe him a debt. That's interesting. He owes me a little money too. Okay. Well, yeah, I can say I did know Ty. What's your interest in this?
I just want to see why Ty beat the crap out of him.
Well, sometimes people rub you the wrong way. Now, if you don't mind, I have to get back to work here.
Fair enough. How much money does Monty owe you? Maybe I can try and work this out to cover Monty since I owe him.
Well, it's a kind thing for you to offer, but I think I'll keep what Monty owes me between him and I.
All right. Fair. Your name wouldn't happen to be Isaac by any chance, right?
Most people call me Mr. Allers. My friends call me Isaac. And you're not my friend.
Meant no disrespect, of course. Just trying to understand who's who around here.
Why are you so curious? Why are you asking so many questions?
Well, like I said, I gotta look out for Monty. Saved me a while back, so trying to make things right.
Kid, don't fucking lie. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. I know Monty Croyle a hell of a lot better than you do, and ain't no fucking way that son of a bitch ever saved anyone from anything.
People could surprise you. It was a long time ago.
Not Monty.
All right, we can agree to disagree there. I'll let you get back to work.
So he just turns around. I want to point out, you guys have not identified yourselves as cops. Like, there is no reason whatsoever anyone would answer like these questions to if a random stranger kind of comes up and starts poking around. So until you guys start showing your badges and identifying who you are, it's like no one's really compelled to answer your questions.
Yeah, I was playing it low key after the maze bar thing, and that's why I was playing the friend angle. But Isaac's going to be a tough nut to crack.
Okay. So here's what I think we should do. As my earbuds are dying, we've been at this almost 3 hours. And I kind of like the idea of Melissa and Steven having a 2-week cliffhanger about whether they're going to live or die.
They better put
just a minor detail of
SOS
like,
signal on the radio
to roll a new character.
So I feel like
to survive.
I feel like let's go ahead and roll some backup characters over the next couple of weeks and refresh our memory when it comes to combat. And I think we're going to end there for tonight. Let's end there. Let's not, because combat's going to be a thing, and let's do it when we're fresh and not after a 3-hour session. You okay,
Jeff, I gave you a cliffhanger, but it was only a 1-week cliffhanger. It wasn't 2. All right, that's uncalled for.
Sorry, man. We got Conan next week.
See, this is fun because for 2 weeks, I can just say that this wouldn't have happened if we went in the tunnels.
I mean, I did write in chat that you left your comms on, so
I really did want to go in the tunnels too. I just didn't want you to decide where we went.
Well, this is what happens. We die. This is what happens.
We'll see how it goes. All right, let's get going. So let's do some closing plugs tomorrow. Obviously, come hang out with us, watch us play some One Ring. Get everyone but Derek in that game. Monday, we're playing some Call of Cthulhu. We're back to Horror on the Orient Express. Melissa and I are. Steven, what's Tuesday?
Tuesday, we find out whether Jeff's character lives or dies in Forbidden Lands. We ended on a cliffhanger there as well, and I'm saying it now. He's going to die. So it's not a cliffhanger anymore. We're just killing him off in the first 5 minutes. So get another character ready.
That's fine.
Wow.
Then I too will just declare
Man.
that Lawton is now dead as well.
This is a GM arms race happening in the Lollygaggers here.
The difference is, buddy, I GM 2 games for you.
Oh,
I have 2 of your characters under my control.
and you run the stream, so I'm screwed no matter what.
Oh, that's interesting. He muted when he said I died. Oh, I guess I'll just riff and say my guy got out just fine.
Why did the loading screen just pop up? We're playing right now.
So weird. It's so strange. Oh my god. And then next Friday, we already mentioned it, but Aaron, our buddy Aaron, you see him on the channel. He's running Conan 2D20 for us. We're starting up. We did our session 0 last week. We're jumping in, and on the off weeks between Blade Runner, we're gonna be playing Conan. So for the next however many months, we're gonna be flipping back and forth between the future and the distant past, as we'll dive into that. But looking forward to that. So thanks for doing out tonight. Thank you for the raids. Thank you for the subs. I saw some anonymous gifter gave out some subs. I really do appreciate it. We're going to raid our buddies over at Defenders of Cobalt. They're playing some Heart. So when this little raid button pops up, go ahead and click that and follow us there. Have a great rest of your weekend. Come by tomorrow, and we'll see you later. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.